and welcome to the 9th installment of the Jonesin on a Whim podcast. It is not the Andy Griffith Show, but if you don't live under a rock and you saw what happened this week, you kind of understand why we had that as an intro. We'll more on him later. We're finally into July. I guess we were last time. We didn't really say happy 4th of July, so we'll get that out of the way right off the bat. Happy 4th to everyone. America's birthday. But we're the representatives of Jonesin on a Whim. It's Facebook page, as we do at the beginning of every podcast. It's on Facebook, Jonesin on a Whim.
Like it.
Love it, whatever it takes. Twitter handles, again, my full name, Harold North. It's just Art and I today. Jim Mavelli, Black Ironman, of course.
I'm working on it.
And Stefan is overseas in Amsterdam. Was it the Blue Road or Red Road? What is it called?
Not sure about
strippers
that.
Or the
whores what? Red Light?
Something like
Red Light
district. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm sure he's.
But he's not there.
No, never.
No, come on.
No.
Jeez.
He couldn't be. Not Stefan.
Because why would not Stefan? Why would he be there?
Not Stefan. So no Stump Stefan segment this week, but much more. We're going to get into NFL this week, so that's kind of our meat and potatoes, our specialty. Well, we tend to think, but you can make your own opinion after our first preview this week. We always begin with the mistakes from last week. I'll run through them pretty quickly. We were talking about Zach Mettenberger last week, LSU's starting quarterback for the upcoming season, the number 2 ranked or number 1 ranked, depending on what poll you look at. No official polls have been released, but I couldn't remember what community college he went to following him being kicked out of Georgia. It's Butler Community College, and it's in El Dorado, Kansas. So El Dorado, sounds like a New Mexico or a Texas town, but actually Kansas. And we were talking about the moves that the Rockets were attempting to make, as all of them have been swing and misses. This one probably will be as well. It was a center that they signed to an offer sheet. It's Omer Asik, and he's with the Bulls. He signed an offer sheet. He will sign an offer sheet tomorrow. On the 11th. So Wednesday.
That would be Wednesday.
Yeah. For 3 years, $25 million, but the Bulls are expected to match that. So still centerless here in the Bayou City.
We're a lot less
yes.
now.
Courtney Lee is apparently going to sign a trade to go to Boston. But more on that. We'll get on that in Whim. Quick Whim hits later in the show.
That one won't be quick.
Nah, probably not. There's a lot of action going on. Free agency. I mentioned the Bills made some other defensive upgrades other than Mario Williams, and they added Mark Anderson from the Patriots, Nick Barnett from the Packers. They drafted Stephen Gilmore out of South Carolina, who's an above-average cornerback, and they get Kyle Williams back, who missed most of last season, and he's pretty much one of the best run stuffers in the league. Another former LSU football player. And the cornerback, the former Cowboys cornerback from Kansas State that I could not remember, it's Terrence Newman, and he has since signed with Cincinnati.
Shocking.
So, good luck with that. I couldn't remember where Ronnie Brown was traded. It's because he wasn't. It was a proposed trade to Detroit for Jerome Harrison, but that was nixed because Jerome Harrison, in his physical, they found benign brain tumor or
something like that. Yeah, so they had to, because the trade was announced.
Right, it was done, and then
like fantasy wise, people were making
trades
out of the blue midweek roster moves, and they had to moonwalk out of it because it was like, ooh.
Yeah, so Ronnie Brown has since signed with San Diego. I believe we mentioned that. We did mention that last week.
Yep.
So he's our number 2 running back, number 3 probably when it comes down to it. Stefan mentioned Tank Black. And I thought he may have been from New Orleans. He's not. He's from Johnson City, Tennessee, and he is a bit of a scumbag. But as Stefan alluded to, and we no need to get into that. Just Google him. This wiki page has enough information. Served a couple prison terms.
Oops.
Yada yada. And regarding the death penalty at SMU, Stefan was right that the NCAA didn't rule that they had to shut down the program. But in 1988, they didn't have enough players to field a competitive team and canceled that season. So it was just, you could have a team, just no scholarships. So they didn't want to throw these walk-ons out there and basically get killed. Kind of like your Necessary Roughness movie when they kind of rolled the dice with that.
Yeah.
Which is a very entertaining movie, but not a realistic storyline. So that's it. Just 7 this week, brief, and a lot of them we were close to. And if I didn't have sober brain last week, I probably would have gotten the Terrence Newman, gotten the Butler College, Omar Asik, a lot of this stuff. It was just cleansing, and my mind, I guess, was so clear that it was just fast.
You were thinking about too many things.
Right. Too many options to jam pack in those 10 days. So that's it. We'll move on to another weekly segment, which is the 51-second segment, named after my beloved New Orleans, Louisiana, which I coined the 51st state. And this will actually be 51 seconds. A lot of you SEC people out there, which I think most of the 7 of you are, especially now that A&M, Kevin, is now in the SEC. The former quarterback of South Carolina, Stephen Garcia, he signed with the Canadian Football League's Montreal Alouettes, I believe, and his hijinks are still going on. This time unintentional. He was getting off the team bus, and he went to flash the peace sign. And while getting off of the bus doing that, he jammed, I guess, both of those peace fingers, and was placed on the 1-game injured list. This was last week. And just the bad luck continues to pile on for this guy. He had a pretty good career at South Carolina when he was sober. He was dismissed from South Carolina last October. His career stats as a Gamecock, pun intended, were 3,059 yards, 20 touchdowns. And that was only in 2010. And he led the Gamecocks to the SEC championship game, where they lost to eventual national champion Auburn, I believe. So just a bit of funny news. I don't know if that came across your radar, but that was just something I wanted to share. It's pretty unfortunate, but
yeah, we joke about people getting hurt in ridiculous ways, and I don't even think we've come up with something that outrageous.
No, and it's just wow. I don't even know what. That's pretty much all I have. I don't know.
That's special.
But that's close to 51 seconds as we'll ever be. But the next segment, we do our top 11 every week, and now we're in the meat of the NFL season. So we're now our top 11 for the next probably foreseeable future will actually be about the NFL. This week we're gonna focus on the AFC West, and I compiled 11 questions, 2 for each team, 1 on how we think the division will end up as far as first, second, third, fourth, 1 a fantasy question about the division, and finally MVPs offensively and defensively for both teams. And we'll start with maybe the most intriguing team in this division, the Denver Broncos, and I'll get to why and our second question. But their defense last year came out of nowhere and had some young guys on there and finished, I believe, I'll get into the question, but the top half of every statistical category except for takeaways where they were 28th. But everywhere else they were great. And so can that defense repeat their performance of last season? That's question 1. That's of our top 11.
Yeah, I think it's an easy answer. I think they have to, because you have to imagine that a lot of the conventional wisdom says, hey, if you stick a defense on the field for a long time, eventually they'll start giving up more plays, especially on the ground.
And the Denver's offense with Tebow led the league in 3 and outs a year ago.
Now, you can imagine that's not going to be the case with Peyton Manning. Actually, I think they're going to be borderline antsy, because you know what Peyton Manning does. He'll nickel and dime you up and down the field. Defense is like hanging out and looking like, 3rd and 2. if they're thinking like last year, oh, it's time for me to get ready to go back out. Oh, no, first down. Cool. All right.
Yeah, Brandon Stokely over the middle.
So, Brandon Stokely over the middle, audible squirreliness, 3-yard gain on every 3rd and 2. And now you got a defense that's rested with talent. And you won't have to worry about winding down toward the end of games. And even more importantly, you won't have to worry about winding down towards the end of the season.
Right.
So, and then you look at their schedule, they got some spots. I don't see how they don't finish in the top half this year unless they just really take a dive.
Right. And another key, this is a guy who we were not fond of as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator. They added Jack Del Rio is now their defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And along with the defensive-minded head coach, John Fox. Yeah, I don't see how they don't improve. Ty Warren will be healthy. He's healthy going into the season. He didn't play much last year, if at all. That'll help. They struggled against the run. That was their worst statistical category, other than takeaways. And they do lose Brian Dawkins, but Ty Warren brings some veteran leadership, as well as Champ Bailey is back for another one, and obviously he'll shore up those duties in the secondary. And they've added 2 corners. Drayton Florence from the Bills and Tracy Porter from the Saints. Neither of them are great, but they're an upgrade from what they had a year ago.
Especially where they're going to be lined up.
And, Elvis Dumberville on one side and Von Miller, at weak side linebacker or strong side linebacker, but both elite pass rushers. So the sacks will be there. They had them last year. I expect that they will repeat that, and you're right. Maybe improve a little bit in that category.
Yeah, I can see it.
And on to the elephant in the room, I guess.
Yeah, one of many. But
right, as this division's concerned.
Yeah.
And can Peyton Manning return to the elite level of play that he achieved in Indianapolis?
He can. I honestly think it's going to take more time. I don't think he's as plug and play as people want him to be. The great thing is that they got a full off season, so they'll look better probably than I'm probably tempering expectations a little bit, because I'm thinking Audible's big playbook. What is he doing? How does he throw? Yeah. Get used to this, get used to that. They got a lot of time to get ready for it, but at the same time, Peyton had some talent on some of those teams.
That's my biggest key, and that's why I finally get on my soapbox, because I say no, and that's why. I mean, if you look at Denver starters at the skill positions, I don't see a Marvin Harrison, I don't see a Reggie Wayne, I don't even see a Dallas Clark, and they could have brought him in, and I think he's going to retire. Yeah. They did add, they do have Brandon Stokely and Jacob Tamme, which are former teammates, so his comfort level will be there, but just people all have never really acknowledged what he's had around him throughout his career. And he's a wonderful player, one of the hardest working players in the league, and he'll be good for the Broncos. I mean, they got 8 with Tebow, so they'll certainly improve there. But it's not the elite, understated and underappreciated skill players he's had in the past. He's always had talent around. He's always Falk, Edgerrin James, even Adai, and he's always had a slew of talent around him, and that I don't think that's talked about enough.
And I think there's going to be a little. It's not a outrageous drop off from what he had maybe the last couple of years.
Right, with Garcon and the little white receiver, Collie, Austin Collie.
Yeah, it won't be as steep as a drop off as some of the better teams he's had, but. And then what about the line too?
And I'm not even sure what they're going to do at running back. McGahee's a year older. Moreno's inconsistent, injury prone.
There was talk earlier on that he was not even a shoe-in to make the team. I mean, I
believe it. I just don't see anything else. But Lance Ball is there now. That's a name that sounds familiar.
Well, he was there.
Jeremiah Johnson with Cincinnati.
He was a hard knock.
Yeah.
Ball played. He had one good game last year.
Yeah, he's one of those little small backs that they always put in, and he was with the Colts in 08, so and waived in 09, so a couple years with Peyton. So maybe that's another comfort level there. But
but I agree. The talent isn't gonna be. And he hadn't played football in a year.
Right, and there's neck issues.
Yeah,
he's looked great in non-contact drills, which most quarterbacks don't ever get involved in contact drills. But fire it up. Even the preseason, I don't think we'll know.
No. But think about this. Week 1 is Pittsburgh.
But it's in Denver, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the Sunday? That's the first Sunday night game, isn't it?
That's the first Sunday night game.
No, that's a nice. That's a blitzing team. That's a nice way to.
That's a nice
be welcome back.
Yeah, that's a nice good morning. Where you been? How's everything been? Let me go ahead and hit you late and step on you right.
Oh yeah, no, and there's no doubt that's going to be going on.
So
a lot. One of the many storylines of the league coming up, and one of the better ones. That's what most people will be keeping their eye on. Both sides of the ball, because I think the defense overachieved last year, but maybe they didn't, and they had the chance to prove that with the addition of Del Rio and shoring up some other positions there with Ty Warren coming back, and just the younger guys a year older, more experience. They brought in, like I said, Porter and the other corner, Florence Straight, who won't start, but he'll be their nickelback. So I'll touch on Denver. And one of the most perplexing teams since Norv Turner's been the head coach, and maybe even before that. But one of the most perplexing players for me. I'm not a fan of him personally, but 25 turnovers last year for Phillip Rivers. Can he bounce back in 2012 and lead the Chargers to the playoffs, where they clearly have the talent to do so? First of all, will he bounce back from 25 turnovers?
Well, I mean, you talk about law of averages. And if you Chuck, and we call him Super Chuck, we call him everything using the word Chuck that we could think of. And if you come out there chucking, you're going to have some 20 interceptions.
No, and I have a stat. In the 8 games of 2 or more interceptions, he averaged over 41 pass attempts. So that's chucking.
Yeah, so, and his throwing style, the type of offense they have, the low percentage throws that they tend to make, and I mean, their offense was just designed for vertical video game. I'm going to run this fly route every 3 plays.
Even with Gates, he runs downfield.
Yeah, so, and it seems like they just kind of rekeyed up to do the same thing again. But you got to think, you're sitting there looking at 25 turnovers and you say, man, I can't show up and have
20
25.
interceptions, 5 fumbles.
I can't show up and have 25 turnovers. So maybe he has a few less fumbles. Maybe he gets down to 16 or 17 turnovers. Maybe they lay on the ball and run it because now they have backs that they're going to want to use that you would want to believe would be in decent shape. And hopefully they do a little bit something on their defense so they don't show up 10-0 down and start chucking.
Right.
But there's people playing for jobs. This is a ugly season for them. So I think he bounces back.
And there's I certainly think he bounces back. I'm unsure about the playoffs. And I mentioned the stat on those 8 games of 2 or more interceptions. 41 plus pass attempts. That's a lot, especially when they now have, and I think they did last year. They do have a stable of backs. They need to lean more on that on the running game. They lost Tolbert, but they brought in McClain. I think that's tit for tat. And they brought in Ronnie Brown, as we alluded to last week and earlier. Ryan Matthews, Curtis Brinkley, Jacob Hester. And even if they're worried about durability, they've got all those guys. I mean, Matthews is a smaller guy, but they lean on those guys. Hester is such a durable, versatile player. They just have not found the right way to use him. And you could put him at tight. You could put him anywhere. In the dictionary or in the encyclopedia, there's a picture of a football player, and it's that guy. And I'm biased.
Yeah, but we watched him save us multiple times.
I know. He's a football player.
He really is. The thing that scares me, though, is I don't agree with you on the McClain-Tolbert being a handoff because McClain didn't look so great last year.
But he was in Kansas City.
And it's hard to look good.
They didn't really use him in that role. But they do use the bigger back, as they did with Tolbert.
But McClain, I'm not sure if he'll do as much pass catching.
Right, he won't.
So I think...
But that's where Hester fits in.
Yeah.
Or Ronnie Brown.
But see, now we're talking about good coaching.
Norv Turner having the effect.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we're talking about good coaching now. So
right.
And that's something that they've been missing. So I think they've been... I look at them as the AFC version of the Cowboys, and they always try to talent their way.
Well, Norv Turner's been both of those.
Yeah, they try to talent their way up on wins.
Right.
And you got to have some execution. You got to be on point. And just showing up and Tecmo Bowl chucking your way up on a win, that's not going to work every week.
And they lost Venture Jackson. Malcolm Floyd's always in and out. They added Robert Meacham and Eddie Roy, but that's a chemistry issue that needs to be addressed now in the preseason with Rivers. who again 20 interceptions last year. So
and that'll be on his mind. But I think, like you saw that first year that Favre played with Minnesota,
right,
and how they pretty much turned that offense into a you will not throw 20 interceptions offense.
He threw like 6. Yeah.
Yeah, he threw 6, and he had like 1, and it was week 12 or something like that. So he had to just get to a point where he got tired of being responsible and throw like 4 or 5 picks in 4 or 5 games.
Which just so happened to be the NFC Championship, which boded well for me.
Awesome.
So,
but
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, but I think that's something that couldn't happen with a lot of different quarterbacks. And Rivers is one of those guys. I think that'll be a focus. They'll say, let's not give any games away. If it's not there, don't give it up. And his comfort level should be a lot lower, too, because he's dealing with so many new pieces.
Right. And again, I personally, I don't like the guy, but he's much better than 25 turnovers. He's a top 10 quarterback. Yeah. Maybe top 7. So we'll get to those rankings at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll argue about that. That'll be a whole show right there.
Right. Again, he's better than that.
But yeah, he bounces back, playoffs, Jim Mora voice.
And this is it, right? And this is number 4 on the top 11 this week, still with the Chargers. Is this finally Norv Turner's final year in San Diego? And I'll answer it real quick. I don't think they're making the playoffs, so yes, I think it is. The division's improved, the schedule's tough. That's it. They 8-18 probably, and he's done. Finally,
they got some ugly spots in the schedule. I agree, but it depends on what you get from Denver. It really does, because
they got to be better than Tebow led. That was 8 wins, and that was enough to win the division. And 8 might do it this year.
You would think, but things usually just Denver had a lot of really squirrely, barely deserved type wins last year.
True.
And you know how that can happen with some team. You win
when you have Jesus on your side.
Yeah, well, of course. Well, you win 5 or 6 games that you kind of, sort of, maybe not should have won, and then the next year you lose all 6 of those.
Right.
And then you're a better team, but you lose all those in between games. You end up 5-11. Now, is Peyton Manning going to field a 5-11 team? Nah, that doesn't sound like something you would want to bet on.
Rookie year.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like something you want to bet on. But it's been a year, and this is a different organization. This is a different group of people, and it could happen. And if they lose all those games, then somebody in that division has to win a couple of those games. So Norv Turner could still make it somehow. Now, you and I both believe / know / would bet that there's 20 other guys, including us two, that should be able to coach that team better.
I just let the players do it.
Because it seems like it's over there. Right. Like, and he's getting kept for some reason that we don't know.
He's got pictures. He's got pictures of somebody doing something.
It's got to be some donkeys involved. I agree. But it should be his final year, but this is the 3rd time I'm saying that. So I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah, so that concludes the Chargers part. We move on to number 5 on our top 11. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs. And they made an interesting move in the offseason, hiring former Miami Dolphins offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, I guess, and he ran the genius behind the Wildcat was more the head coach than Daboll, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he kind of took it and perfected it, and the head coach is now in the Jets offensive coordinator, I believe.
Yeah.
His name.
But
what's his name? It's
you're taking it from me.
It's an S. People are yelling it. Centurion, but this guy, I mean, he took that creativity and ran Sperano.
Jeez.
And this guy, but he's got a decent hold on it, and so took the long way to this question, but can he breathe the much-needed life into an offense that used to be one of the league's most explosive, with Priest Holmes, Trent Green, Tony Gonzalez? And this offense used to put up points every week.
And you just named a bunch of people who aren't
not there anymore. But the more I wrote about the Chiefs, the more I fell in love with both sides of the ball there.
They have pieces that you would just want to believe they should be able to put together, and it should just mix. Like, you got a lot of nice pieces.
Got plenty of weapons.
Plenty of weapons. Like, and you just assume that Jamal Charles is going to be kind of halfway, but they got backs to kind of cover for that.
Yeah, I mean, Dexter McCluster, who plays receiver, running back, whatever they want, whatever they need him to do. They got Hillis now, to grind out possibly those yards. Miyake, fake Tony. It's kind of like Gonzalez. Dwayne Bowe in a contract year. Jonathan Baldwin in his second year, which is when we kind of fall into your own receiver. Steve Bruston, who is used to a wide open offense from his days in Arizona. Yep. Yeah, of course, all of this is dependent on if Matt Castle can recapture his days of his last season in Kansas City, his last season in New England, and his first in Kansas City. But he's got the ability, and he's certainly got the weapons.
Yeah, you gotta believe at this point, like a guy like Castle, you would believe he went from obscurity to Tom Brady falls on the ground. Now I got to play quarterback for a whole season.
11 wins.
And I win 11, but oops, I win 11 in a year that everything goes to crap, and I win 11 games, don't win the division, and don't make the playoffs.
Right.
But you got to think at this point he's got to be over the concern about the money, because I don't care who you are. If you go from obscurity to somebody handing you a bunch of money, that's something that's going to be on your mind.
Right.
Good guy, bad guy, no matter what, you're thinking, man, somebody handed me all this money. There's all this pressure. This team isn't that good. Todd Haley's jackass. What am I going to do? Crap.
Which is a nice storyline in Pittsburgh. We'll get to that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, like, what am I going to do with this? I got to start winning some games. Oops. Now I'm hurt. Now everybody has a year worth of film on me. They realize I run around a little bit because he got sacked a lot that year. They went 11-5 with New England.
Yeah.
With that ridiculous holding offensive line.
Right.
So the comment was like, well, if you're getting sacked with that, what's going to happen to you when you play with a normal non-holding?
That's not cheating,
Yeah, what happens? Now we see what happens.
Right.
He just needs to be acceptable, and you want to believe that this guy that they got as the OC, with all those weapons, you show up and they hand you the keys to it. Cornell isn't going to hold him back, so you figure he'll be able to get whatever this team has, he'll be able to get it out of him. And Castle will have a lot less to worry about than he did maybe this time a couple years ago.
And I think Miyake, in his good season there, Miyake was his safety valve, and went to him a lot. That wasn't there last year. And they also added a big signing, Kevin Boss, who didn't work in Oakland as much as he did in New York, but that was just a different situation. There was quarterback carousel there last year, and
we're gonna get into that.
Right. A little more stability, and both those guys are serious threats. At top 10 receiving tight ends, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't put a list together, but top 15.
Boss is at the bottom of that 10 or 15, but
the ability's there.
You're talking about a big target where, when all fails, if that's your second tight end, you're probably okay.
Right. Exactly. He blocks backside for a while, then releases, and he'll be in the flat. Even if it's 3 yards, it's completion, and
Yeah, and heaven forbid they play against a couple of teams that got weak linebackers that don't feel like tackling.
Like Oakland.
Because that big joker right there is, if he doesn't think about it, he just takes off running, that's 50 yards.
Right. No, he's definitely got the ability, the athleticism.
And something else to talk about, too, because we're talking about another conventional wisdom type thing, a copycat league. Fantasy football people, they sat and watched
Gronkowski and Graham did.
Yeah, these outrageous tight end numbers. And it's like, how many different teams are going to be trying to come up with something similar to that to put pressure on the middle of people's defense?
Yeah.
And also, there's going to be teams that are going to have better running backs than New England had. Sorry, Stephon. And they're going to take advantage. They're going to take advantage from the other end, too, because once they eat up the middle of that field, running backs being able to do stuff too if you got some talent.
Right.
So, and some of these other teams are gonna have some hellified talent.
Speaking of the team, I mean Hillis, Charles.
Yeah.
They got some guys right there.
Yeah, and Charles, I really want to temper expectations.
He got hurt early.
He got hurt early.
Week 1 or 2, really.
Yeah, but I still believe pretty heavily in when you come back, that year when you come back is gonna be a am I all right type of year.
Right, but they've never asked him to carry more than 20 times in a game. And I think that's why they brought Hillis over. His best season's 15, was 1,500 yards or something.
Yeah, off of like 6 yards per carry.
Exactly, at least.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna. They're not gonna load him up regardless. Even if he were healthy, they don't plan to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why they brought Hillis in, and clean slate for him. I hope for more production than whatever that was last year. But Cleveland does that to a player. So
they do poison folks. Yes.
So I'll hang it up on that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt
for now.
Right. And speaking of, not even a segue at all, but the
anyway.
that defense in Kansas City. The more I look at it, the first round picks, the talent, Cornell being added, how good can it be? I don't know if I had the stat, but they were quietly a top 11 unit last season as far as yards given up per game. Cornell now the head coach, so that's more emphasis on defense. Eric Berry returns to anchor that already pretty strong secondary. They did lose a cornerback to, I think, the Dallas signed. What's his face? But they've got a great group of linebackers: Tamba Ali, Derek Johnson, Justin Houston. So I think they can be a top 5 defense. It's going to depend on those top 5 picks along the defensive line. 2 of them are from LSU.
Oh, yeah.
Tyson Jackson and Glenn Dorsey. They've shown signs of greatness, just haven't had the consistency. If Cornell can just rattle their cages, he seems to be a player's coach, gets to these guys, and they drafted Dontario Poe. I think they can be a top 5 defense, and maybe the surprise defense alongside. I guess Denver wouldn't be as much a surprise, but I have a lot of hope for this defense.
You think about where they landed last year. I mean, you look at their schedule. They got the Colts on their schedule, and they got Cleveland on their schedule, which this whole division does. Tampa, same thing, whole division does. They got Buffalo, which may be a lot tougher than people want to believe.
I think their offense is playoff ready. It's their defense that needs to.
But I think they got the pieces, and we'll get into that.
Right.
That week too.
Yeah.
But that defense it's not like they have a lot of. Well, they do got the Saints, but outside of that. There's not a lot of ultra potent type offenses that they're going to be playing.
They're not playing NFC North.
Yeah, which puts them in a situation schedule wise where it's there. And at some point when you draft that much talent and you get the right coach in there, that type of stuff tends to bear fruit. If you can get everybody healthy at the same time.
Right. And they finished the top 11. And I think that was more after Cornell got there. I mean, they held, Green Bay to 10 points or 3 points last year?
Yeah, they punked.
They beat them. There was only loss before they lost to the Giants in the playoffs.
Yep.
It was like 10-3 or something. So the defense is
and watching
very
that
good.
Game, it was clear Green Bay they weren't exactly just joking around.
No, they were trying. Beat. Yes, and that's without Eric Berry, one of the best safeties in the league.
Yeah, so I think that defense is kind of lined up for them. Is what has to happen is all this stuff we're talking about on the offense needs to work itself out. And if it can, once again, I'm a strong believer. If you got a good offense, you got a good chance to have a good defense.
And not surprisingly, they don't have a defensive coordinator because it's their head coach.
There you go.
So his handprints are all over it, and I'm intrigued to see what they're gonna do. I'll be honest. A week ago, before I even looked at all this, I was enjoying the time away from the NFL. Now I'm starting to read about it, write about it. Yeah. I'm ready.
You're ready.
And it can't be August soon enough.
Give us time. We got to talk about all these divisions first.
Right. And on to the final team in this division, the Oakland Raiders, who we've always kind of had a soft spot for.
Yeah,
I can't even explain why.
I'm bitter now. Though.
Right. And it's getting to that point. But they traded for Carson Palmer last year. I think it was early in the season. It was week 6, I believe, is when he finally played. It was week 7 or 8. But is he officially dead? I mean, is this it for Carson Palmer? Is he no longer the first overall pick talent that he was when he was drafted by Cincinnati in 2000, whatever it was?
My harsh answer is that he's been that for years. He's been that way for years. Like, I feel like he got cut short, and I'm not going to put that on him because that knee injury screwed him.
Right. No,
and that's
mentally, definitely.
And when history gets written on him, that needs to be a big footnote in there. Like, that knee, they were in the playoffs, and they had talent, and he was chunking, and he was there.
I thought they were probably the favorite to win that year because the Steelers who beat them ended up beating the Colts and ended up winning the Super Bowl. So,
So he hadn't been the same since then. And then I felt like he fell off a cliff during the elbow thing. And also, he got a lot of miles put on his mind football-wise by being around the Bengals during that whole joke of a situation. Okay. Like, Marvin Lewis is about to get fired every Tuesday, and it doesn't happen. And then you get to the offseason, well, certainly they're going to fire him now, right? And no, they don't
then
fire
him. Yeah, then they a couple years later, they pull a division win out of their ass. I mean,
yeah, so it's a lot is going on, and then now his reward is to be with Oakland after Al passes, and I feel pretty strongly with that situation. At first, we were thinking harshly that there was somebody waiting in the wings to take that whole Oakland thing over. Like, okay, when Al passes, we'll be able to do these 9 things that we've been wanting to do. And it's going to be on because we got this talent, and then we can add a couple pieces here and there. But no.
Well, keeping Hugh Jackson would have been.
Yeah.
Would have been the smart move, or keeping the guy before him.
But now it seems like there may be at least 2 different groups of people that are trying to run the Raiders, and whoever's quote-unquote running it now doesn't even know what they want to do, or they might still be fighting with the other group. So I think Palmer's completely done.
Right, and as I mentioned, he got traded in Week 6 last year, and kind of he got thrown into the fire. Campbell got hurt. That's why they traded for him. Yeah. I'll give him a slight mulligan for last year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent on this offense.
Yeah.
And there were 4 games last year. He had a quarterback rating over 100.
Yeah.
So, and he finished strong. They were 1-2 in those games that he had because he came in the first one. He didn't start the first one, but quarterback rating over 100. He showed some signs. This offense is going to go as I think Darren McFadden goes, regardless. But Palmer will play a huge role in this team's success. And they've got 6 pretty good receivers, 4 well above average receivers. They don't have the talent at tight end that they used to have. In fact, I don't know any of these guys.
Who are they rolling with right now?
Brandon Myers.
Cricket.
I have no idea. 6th round pick in 2009. And there's a 7th round pick in 2011, David Osbury, who's their backup. And Torrey Humphreys at 4th string, which he was a former New Orleans Saints player. But you got Darren McFadden running back, Mike Goodson from Carolina, who's a hell of a back as well.
Yeah.
Marcel Reese is still there. They obviously lost Michael Bush.
Yeah. But
the receivers are there. His talent's there. Leinert's not going to push him at all. Terrell Pryor either. So there's no pressure. Not that there ever was. He's the first overall pick, in whatever year it was. And this is it. I'll give him one more time just because the mulligan for last year, it literally was thrown into a burning fire.
Yes.
So, but, I mean, if Jacoby Ford can stay healthy, Denarius Moore had a great season. Darius Hayward-Bay starting to catch the football.
Yeah.
Lewis Murphy's. These guys are talented receivers. So this might be the best receiving core he's had in that 1 through 4, because obviously he had Hushmanzada and Chad in their prime. But there's some studs at that position, and McFadden is another guy out of the backfield as an option, and behind just taking the ball.
Yeah, but you listening to what we're saying though, right?
Oh no, it's a lot of what ifs.
Yes, and I feel like that whole Charlie Brown Peanuts thing, where Charlie Brown, Lucy's trying to get him to run up and kick this football, and she's swearing that she's not going to move it. She's not going to move it this time, and she's going to move it. And I feel like the Raiders are going to move that football on me again. So I keep saying I'm not going to kick it, but watch them show up and start off 3-0, and then they're going to get me to kick it.
Well, them getting rid of Hugh Jackson did it for me.
Yeah, well, because at least Cable was choking people.
Right, I don't even know who Dennis Allen is, so.
We'll see.
Right. So, we'll see. But the other side of the ball, number 8 on our top 11. Defense, ranked 29th in the league last year, total yards given up. Is there any chance that they turn that around in 2012?
I honestly don't see it. I don't see it.
Me neither. They made no changes.
I don't see the talent. I can't remember any major injuries that screwed them. Like, they would have been all right, but such and such got hurt.
And the 2 good corners they had are gone. And Richard Seymour is just gonna be hitting quarterbacks late and mounting. The penalties will mount because it's Oakland. It's the Raiders. it's what happens. And I don't see any. They made no moves. Rolando McClain's the one guy that they drafted, and he's been underwhelming.
Yeah.
So I see nothing. No change.
I mean, without talent, you got to have discipline and order, and you know they're lacking in the last.
Or coaching, and Jason Tarver. I don't know who that is.
So they're gonna have to show me something before I run up and kick this football again. I'm not doing it.
Could be bottom of the league.
Yeah.
29th last year. It could be 32nd.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
No, that was quick because that's an easy answer. So we now move on to number 9. And we did the 2 on each team. Now we're going through MVP offensively and defensively for each team in the division. We'll start with Denver, and I'll give Stefan's. He just called and got his end.
Yeah.
He's got Peyton Manning on offense and Elvis Dumberville on defense, and I have Peyton as well on offense. It's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, I guess if I wanted to be the squirrely person just to give us something else to talk about on offense.
Because he's such an uncertainty, so that's kind of why.
It's like I want to assume that if they paid him what they paid him, and he's out there and he's looking however he's looking now,
he'll bring what he normally brings.
He's gonna bring an amount, because even if he's just okay, let's think. Where does that put him? Like if he's
still better than Tebow.
Yeah, he's gonna be better than Tebow as long as he's upright. That's what I gotta believe.
Right.
So if you think about that, that means when somebody's open, he's gonna hit him in the hands. Versus with Tebow, they only pass him 8-10 times a game, and he misses 3 throws a game.
At least, no. 3 is serious.
Out of the
that's why they go 3 and out.
Yeah, out of the 8, he misses 3.
Right.
And it's like, well, Peyton isn't gonna miss those throws.
No.
So now we're talking about the talent that he's gonna be throwing it to, and so you gotta put it on Demarius. I mean, is he gonna be upright? He's the guy that's supposed to have the talent, that's supposed to be able to kind of make this whole thing
He's
go.
saying all the right things.
And he has to be that Peyton Manning tandem guy that's going to show up and catch 90 balls.
I think it'll be Eric Decker, but
yeah,
because Thomas will be the big play guy,
the big money guy.
Yeah,
but
Decker will be Marvin Harrison, and Thomas will be Reggie Wayne. So back in the day when they were that tandem.
But you think Thomas he's going to have to be good enough to draw that attention to allow?
Oh, and he certainly will. So yeah, he's the size, the speed, and just what he did against Pittsburgh in that playoff game.
Yeah,
he's garnered the attention, and Stokely's he'll play forever.
Yeah,
and Andre Caldwell, which they say he had a disappointing career with Cincinnati, but that was more quarterbacking. He's a fine 4. If that's what they ask him to be.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think they're fine there.
I think they're fine. I think it's that receiver group though that's where the key is going to be. And
they got Dreesen and Tammy at tight end,
which should be good.
Yeah, especially for the offense that they're going to run.
Yeah, should be good. Obviously, I think the same thing about Denverville staying upright on defense. I don't think there's a lot of trickiness for that too.
Right. So that's who your defensive.
Yeah.
I have Champ Bailey just because somebody needs to step up and be the leader on defense that Dawkins was the last couple seasons.
Yeah.
And Bailey was that before Dawkins was there, so it's an obvious replacement.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
He's nearing the end of. I expect Von Miller and Dummerville to get after it. Bailey's older than us, but he's still an elite cornerback. But it's more his leadership that makes him, I think, the most valuable player on that side of the football. So, moving on to now the Kansas City Chiefs. Stefan and I agreed on both sides of the ball here. I think that it's Jamal Charles for me. He did have the injury, but he brings that element to the game that they didn't have when he was gone last year. And he could get the ball and 80 yards. I mean, McCluster just hasn't gotten there yet. He's a little smaller. It's not that Jamal is very big, but McCluster's that small. They moved him to slot receiver. That's how small he is. But he's 2 yards in a cloud of dust, and he offers that element anytime he's in the backfield, that he could take it to the house through the air, handoff. So for me, it's Charles, because obviously Castle's unquestionably got to be better.
Yeah.
But Charles is the element they didn't have a year ago when they struggled.
That explosive element.
Right.
Yeah. I'm looking at Bo because they need a real number one to make it all go.
And he's been, I think. I mean, his numbers say that. And it's contract year. So, you know he's going to be balling.
You would think so. But it's important because you watch. He's one of those watch the game guys, too. Because you can get to I'm real hard about this, too. You can get to the end of a season and look at a stat line and be like, hey, 75 catches and
but he disappears.
Such yards.
He disappears at times.
That ain't too bad.
Right.
But then when you go down the game by game scorecard, and you're like, oh, this dude had a 2-catch game,
right?
A 1-catch game. What the hell? 3 0-catch game? Like what? And Bo is one of those guys that's not above dropping a 0 on you, and it's like, man,
he disappears at times.
Yeah, what's happening?
Right, he does, and I think that's more consistency at the quarterback position as much as it is his complacency as well. So. But yeah,
because year one, you got to deal with double teams. You got to deal with a guy over the top because there's certain teams that are just gonna say you're not running fly routes against us and winning this game. So
right.
You got to come up with something else.
And I think that's why they brought Preston in. Well, they brought Preston over because Haley was the coach and he had him in Arizona.
Yep.
But Baldwin's young and he's talented. And
he got a lot of skill.
Right.
You would think
he was hurt a lot of. They say. Oh, well, I guess say he was picking an 11. I thought this was his third year, but that's a kid out of Oklahoma, isn't it? I thought.
Let me check that out.
No, Pittsburgh. Okay, so yeah, he's a good player. So he needs to come into his own, and you're right. You double team Bo, he still rises above, but it's if he wants to that day. He had one that was it last year. I think he had that crazy catch in the end zone, and his ability is unquestioned. Another LSU talent, but
receiver wise, he might be the one in a good long while.
Yeah,
as far as being able to translate what he provided for us on Saturday.
Right, and Eddie Kennison for the same Chiefs. For some years, when that offense was explosive. And on defense, it's another guy coming off injury for me. It's Eric Berry. He's a strong safety for them, and they did hold it up without him last year.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing they did last year was give up big plays, and he at strong safety he will cut that short. He will be the last line of defense, and kind of lessen
lessen the blows. But see, I believe in the whole defensive line of thinking too. So I'm looking at our guys again. I mean,
no, it's got to be those three up front because they play a 3-4 under Cannell. Those three have to be big, and I said that earlier. They have to step up. That's the one weak link, and it shouldn't be. That's where all the first-round picks are.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at because to me that's the difference between, when you put your defense, your secondary in a situation where they got to cover for too long, there's a lot of talent in the league. You can't touch anybody after 5 yards, and that means your line has to be in people's face.
Right.
And they got the talent to be in people's face. I just wonder, do they have the health, and like we were talking about before, Romeo Cannell getting in their head saying, look, this is your time, let's go.
Rattle their cage. It's
like, this is your time, this is your year. This division isn't spoken for just because Peyton is here. Like, you could sell that pretty well, it looks to me, especially looking at the league as a whole, because we're talking about the last 10 years, you got a lot of worst to first. You can win in the NFL if you got some talent and you get the right look on your face from the beginning on. You get a little bit of luck and get healthy, stay healthy. Man, you can get on a run and you can win some games.
Yeah, eight of their starters are top 3 pick, top 3 rounds, and like 6 of those are first rounds. There's no excuses on that side of the ball.
Yeah, so they got to get it, but it starts at that line, so that's who I'm looking at.
So no one in particular?
No one in particular, just the line as a whole. So I'm cheating every time I get a chance on this.
Right, well, they're all, like I said, Dorsey was a first-round pick in 2008, Tyson Jackson in 2009, and then Poe this year, first-round pick. All top 5 picks. So, it's now or never, Neo screaming.
That's a lot of losing.
Yeah, right, well... And I think, how did they get Poe that high? Because They weren't. They won some games last year.
Nah.
Like I see. Well, he was the 11th pick, but Tyson and Dorsey were definitely top 5. So
Yes.
that's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, Stephon had the same 2 that I did. And then moving on to San Diego, offensively, they haven't. I don't think they've named a full-time starter at this position on offense, but I'm going with their left tackle because a lot of the mistakes that Rivers made last year, a lot of his 20 interceptions were when he was on the move, when he was running out of the pocket and just chucking like
Somebody
he does.
but somebody completely missed a block or something like that. Yeah.
And so right now they have Jared Gaither as their starting left tackle. I actually got him from the Chiefs. And then Brandon Dombrowski is the backup, who is the son of Jim Dombrowski. I think it's Jim, who was an offensive lineman for the Saints when I was a young boy. But I think the left tackle is a big move for them. Will be the most valuable play for them, especially in the passing game. 20 interceptions for Phillip Rivers is very uncharacteristic, and it'll start there. And I think everything else is in place for them.
Yeah. I'm looking at Meacham pretty hard. Because he's one of those.
Vincent Jackson?
This is another case of can a guy come out of nowhere that has a skill set that you're thinking, well, what if somebody threw a football in his general direction 13 times a game? What would happen?
Right.
And it's kind of set up for him to be in that situation, especially if this defense doesn't get any better.
Right.
Because I'm calling out the whole defense because I don't know. I don't think there's one guy that has the talent to save that defense. I really don't think
Not anymore.
I don't see it anywhere. Like, they got to fix kind of like their whole special teams has been up the creek the last couple of years. Like, they got to get that together, too, because that's been costing them games on the slide, too.
They missed Darren Sproles. That's a shame.
Hopefully, y'all never get to miss it.
No.
Hopefully, he
I
retires.
can't imagine we'll make that mistake.
Yeah, he has to retire saying somebody screwed up or he got hurt or something happened.
So, yeah, we get Sproles, they get Meacham. I'll make that trade any day.
I think you should.
Yeah.
But Meacham, they need a target. Is he Vincent Jackson? I don't know. Because now we got to have a conversation about what you think of Vincent Jackson. Because I've always kind of seen him as an underachiever, too.
No.
He's a big guy. He has all the skills. You get him in a one-on-one, he can eat somebody alive. And Phillip is ready to chuck it to him.
That's what they do. They collect these 6'5" receivers. Floyd and Vincent Brown. They're both tall guys. And Vincent Jackson's a tall guy.
Yeah, but Vincent Jackson was also a sensitive guy. And has he ever had more than 70 catches in his life in a season?
Brown's 5'11". No, boy doesn't stay healthy. Right, sensitive.
So he's sensitive, and he's also another one of these watch the game. And you're like, where's Vincent Jackson? What happened? And then you look on the side, and he's just like on the side, kind of, sort of, not healthy.
Interested, not interested.
Kind of, sort of, not hurt, but kind of, sort of, not playing. And it's like, this is a guy that's holding out for money, and he's over here not even wincing on the bench. Oh, man, forget this guy.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like Meacham is in a position, or Brown, or whoever decides to do it, to take that number one role and say, this is what a number one receiver looks like in this offense where they're chunking it the whole game. I'm about to get paid.
And honestly, I mean, I'm no Noah Turner, but I'd use Eddie Royal the way they use Sproles. In my opinion, it's the same size almost. It's quick, little guy.
Yeah.
But that, I don't want to think outside of the box because I certainly know Norv's not.
Yeah.
But that's, he's a great offensive coordinator in his time, but he hasn't quite evolved with the times as much.
I don't think so.
But Eddie Royals is another one of those guys I like a lot more than most people do. But same little guy, quick, sure-handed, good in the return game. I'd use him the same way that they use Sproles because they don't have that guy on their team right now.
Yeah,
and they certainly don't want to acknowledge Jacob Hesser's talent.
Yeah. Are you trying to get Noah Turner saved?
Right.
This is
I don't think he's
saving a job.
Well, I don't think he's one of the 7. So.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, all right.
Maybe.
I thought we were trying to get rid of him.
Word of mouth, but I doubt it. So that's So a receiver needs to step up, which
And I'm looking at Meacham because he just seems like he would be the one.
Well, he's the newest face,
He's the newest face, but maybe Brown does something too.
Right. Yeah, it's time. I mean, Brown and Floyd got paid last year, but he's in the contract year now.
Yeah, I just don't trust Floyd to stay healthy. Though.
No, they don't. 6'5".
And they shouldn't either. Yeah, I agree. Because he has a game. He looked like Vincent Jackson a few times.
Right.
So
no, they're the same guy.
And that's why I feel like
almost exactly.
Yeah, I feel like a guy that can stay healthy, that has the right look on his face, can eat it up out there in that offense.
Yeah, I mean, Phillips definitely going to chuck it to you.
Because nobody's caring about any of these guys right now, which is that's how you end up having a ridiculous season. Because if Gates is upright, he's going to be running all in the middle of the field, eating up defenses, probably eating a safety, and you can come up behind
and
that.
some Cheetos.
Yeah. He probably got some gourmet Cheetos, like some special
Cheetos.
Cheetos.
No, truffle Cheetos.
Truffle Cheetos, yeah. He's eating truffle Cheetos. Yeah, because nobody... What's the story on him right now?
He's the healthiest he's ever been.
He's healthy, he feels great. And
that's the first time they've ever openly said that, so I'll believe it.
Yeah, but if healthy and in shape are two different things.
Right.
Because healthy just means my foot doesn't hurt. In shape means I'm not
I'll put down the truffle Cheetos.
Truffle Cheetos. Right. Truffle Cheetos, man, I haven't had any. I imagine they got to be good.
I'm sure. Me neither. Maybe we need to either create it or find them.
Let's assume he's okay and he'll eat defenses, and then there's a receiver that needs to eat.
When we go through my fantasy, I do assume he's okay.
Okay.
But that's so. And Stephon had Ryan Matthews, which I'm fine with. Of course, fantasy team last year, I leaned on him and his 2 touchdowns almost every week when he left games a lot, but he still scored. So
yeah.
And I guess with Tolbert gone, maybe they'll lean on him a little bit more. They shouldn't, because they did add Goodson. They did add, like I said, all the guys I mentioned earlier, McLean. So they don't need to lean on him, and I wouldn't. I'd use him the same way they have in the past. So we'll see how Norv does that. I would, again, Eddie Royal as Sproles' replacement. Should be what they do. It won't be, but that's just for me to envision and never realize. But on the defensive side, Takeo Spikes is the unquestioned leader on that side of the ball. And they did add Atari Bigby, who I like, the secondary that needs help.
Yeah.
But there's one guy that's been on that defense for them on the line. He's older. He's been through some injuries. Luis Castillo. He's not going to be asked to play every down anymore. But he definitely needs to. I think he was one of the leaders in sacks in 2006, and he's going to need to return to somewhat of that form, because they had trouble stopping the run last year. He's a pass rusher, and he's a bigger end. He can get outside, stop the run. If that defense is going to improve at all, it's going to start with him, his leadership, his ability. So I'm going with Luis Castillo as my defensive MVP, and Stephon picked Quinn Jammer just to screw with me. So I won't even get in that.
I don't even believe
he's a joke as a cornerback, but he went to UT, so Stephon picked him, and that's about as much run as I'll give on that.
That's wild.
He's still in the league. He was a first round pick in 2002, so he's doing this 10-year career. So he's obviously above average as a athlete, but as cornerbacks go.
Yeah,
that's it. Who's your defense?
He had a couple gifts, though.
Yeah.
He had a couple gifts that... Remember that one Sunday night game where Peyton was throwing an inexplicable...
No, that was Cromartie.
Yeah, he was on the other side, though.
Yeah, Cromartie was just lost, and...
like, what?
Manning found him.
Wait, what?
Yeah. That was the most ill-advised 13-interception season ever, Cromartie. I mean, he was out... It's kind of like...
Larry Brown.
Dreadlocks in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
It's just so out of position that they don't even expect you to be there.
Like, what are you doing there?
You're lost. And
you called a man dreadlocks.
So.
Troy. Oh, Troy.
Ugh.
That man got hair commercials off his hair. That's insane.
It's sad.
It's got to be Spikes because he has a whole off season. And you got to think, watching, let's be honest about last year
He's
in the
their
NFC. And let's be honest about the NFC last year. We're talking about a couple of plays away from San Francisco going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean, I know that's tender talk, but
but
watching that game.
He played for the Chargers last year.
I know, but he has to be watching that saying, hey, I left that.
Never made the playoffs.
Yeah, I left that to come here. Man, screw that.
Only player, I mean, he's been in the league since God knows what, I don't even know, ever. And 98, never made the playoffs. And the Chargers just typically fall into the playoffs. They haven't since he's been there. Well, 1 year, but yeah.
Yeah, it's 1 year.
And then, and then he leaves and the 49ers return for the first time. And
then talking about 2 plays away from the Super Bowl.
Right.
Maybe 3.
Yeah.
And so, and now they've retooled. You know he has to be looking across thinking, well, I got to do well. We won't be better than them.
No. One of the favorites in the NFC. Yeah.
Yeah, but we got to at least look good.
Right.
And this is on me. And we got a full off season of push-ups and running with sleds and whatever we got to do.
Yeah, well, that's why I mentioned him. He's the unquestioned leader, no doubt.
So I'm putting it on him.
That's fair. I don't disagree with that at all. That's why I mentioned him. He's their leader, and he's got to be sick and tired of missing the playoffs. I don't think it changes, but he's from Auburn, so yeah, screw him.
Yeah.
Then, of course, last and least, maybe not least. I don't think they'll be at the bottom of the league. Actually, I get in my picks. It certainly won't be, but the Raiders. Offensively, we might all agree here. This offense is going to go with McFadden. If he can just give you 16 games. He's exactly. And that's chuckle worthy.
16.
He might be the best running back in the game.
Yeah.
But you can't outright be named that if you don't give me more than 10.
Yeah.
And I think he did play all 6 quietly maybe.
He played 15 1 year. That was
recent.
Not the last year, obviously, but the year before.
Yeah.
He played 15 when everybody assumed that he wouldn't. And it was like, what? Really? 15? And then, of course, last year he casually missed damn near a whole season. Yeah, because every week...
You remember that because you picked him high. Right?
Oh, don't remind me. Yeah. Right. Because the year before he had played 15 games. Right. So I was like, maybe
he's ready.
Maybe he jumped the shark. Yeah. He's ready to go.
He just runs so upright. He leaves himself open for... He's got a receiver's body.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is, when he gets hurt, it's never like when he gets hit, it's like, oh, I know that hurt.
Yeah, he just gets up off the normal hit and he's gimpy.
He gets up off, and sometimes he's not even gimpy. Like, you just don't see him anymore. You're like,
yeah.
I went to the bathroom, I came back, I haven't seen Darren McFadden in 6 weeks since then.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I agree.
And so, yeah.
I took him his rookie year.
He's huge for them, especially now that they have less backup. So maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they got a special shoot for him or something.
We like Goodson from Carolina.
Yeah, but do I like him enough to be starting when McFadden goes down?
You might. With that line, you might.
He's good, but
yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't touch McFadden anymore. But
no, because he's.
I said we get to our fantasy picks, but
yeah, because. I don't think he played. I'll just let him burn me again because I'll say he's going to be good, then he'll suck. Then I'll say he's going to suck, then he'll be good. Well, this year I'm going to go to the suck side. I want no jokes off that. But yes, that's the side I'm going to on him. So
who you got as your offensive MVP?
It sucks.
Reluctantly,
I said the man was dead.
Yeah.
I just said he was dead, and I talked about it for 6 minutes.
But
if he can at least be serviceable, like we said, they got pieces. And if he can at least create a threat to throw a ball downfield, whoever they have playing running back should be able to eat it up. But it's on him.
Yeah, Brady Quinn certainly not.
No.
They'll ride 5 interception games before they bring Quinn in. I mean, or line it. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Quinn's in Kansas City.
Oh wow.
That's why Castle has no pressure behind him
at all. So yeah, I'll go with Carson because I think it's over for him, but that's who it needs to be for them to be good. That's the way you frame the question.
Right. And defensively, obviously, Richard Seymour's the obvious choice, just like Spikes was. But Rolando McClain's got to take the bull by the horns and on this defense. He was the 2010 first-round pick. He's been a slight disappointment since entering the league. He's doing off-the-field stupidity. if this defense is going to improve, it's got to be at that position. And I believe he's their middle linebacker, and he's got to take the reins. Seymour can't play forever, so Rolando McClain is mine. And Stephon had McFadden on offense, and he's got their newly signed. Can't think of his first. Tyvin Branch.
Tyvin Branch.
And I guess he's not newly signed. He's a 4th round pick in 08 out of Connecticut. Their strong safety along with Huff. I guess he didn't want to take 2 Texas guys back to back.
Well, I mean, at some point, Huff is going to have to do justice to the money.
This new deal, he's getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
Because he's been a disappointment since he was drafted.
Yeah, I mean, but...
As UT players tend to be in this league.
You had that in the chamber.
Oh, it's always ready.
You had that in the chamber.
That's always ready.
It's hard to pick. I want to cheat again, but they got to get something out of these safeties because that defense just isn't good, which means they're not going to be pressure on the quarterback, which means people are going to be getting beaten coverage, which means your safety's got to make an ass load of tackles. They got to make a bunch of touchdown-saving plays, and that's where they're going to be. And heaven forbid if they get palmerized and end up with bad field position.
So that's going to happen.
So, yeah, based on where I got them getting palmerized this year. But, so yeah, that's my non-answer answer, the safety.
So just, okay. You went on defense, just just a group of position players. It's fine. I mean, that's certain places where they need to improve or what needs to be on its game. And
yeah, because I feel like the thing about all these teams on defense, with the exception of Denver, is that these defenses have either underachieved or they're just flat out bad.
Right.
And so you got to look at a whole big piece. Like in Kansas City, it was a little bit easier to just pick the line because they got it figured out everywhere else.
Right, definitely.
But the line is where the underachieving is happening at.
But the talent's there.
And the talent is there. Right. So it's like, it's easy to call out all 3 of those guys. And I feel like defense, I usually like to go with units either.
Right.
One
No,
of the 3 layers.
That's fair, yeah.
So I'll be cheating all the way through this on this.
No, I mean, that's fair. I mean, that concludes MVPs in the AFC West. I think, I mean, it's one of the more. I led with it because it's one of the divisions that it's a lot of question marks, and it's not really. The biggest storyline of the season, one of the biggest, will be Peyton Manning, and it's always the Chargers if they're going to underachieve again, and Oakland's always a storyline just because it's such a storied franchise for the right and wrong reasons.
Yeah.
First one completely without Al Davis. So I figured it would be a nice start for us. And moving on to the 10th of our top 10, top player at each position, fantasy-wise, and in the division. And I think we'll try to do some kind of weekly fantasy format or segment. I just haven't figured out
how we're going to play
how and when or how it's going to work. But I thought this was the easiest way to do it division-wise. Just pick the top player.
All the starters, basically.
Right, at each position.
Per division.
Right. And just division-wise, not team-wise, because obviously this, they all start their same guys.
Yeah.
So, and it should vary to a certain extent. With quarterback, Stephon and I agreed. And we both chose Phillip Rivers. They're going to throw a lot. They shouldn't. They should lean on the running game more. They've got the stable of backs to do it. They won't. Their defense is here and there, so they will be down like they were a year ago. He'll put up 4,500 yards again, 27-plus touchdowns. As long as I think the interceptions will go down, even if it's not a negative in your league. It's Rivers for us.
Yep, and I went Rivers for the same reason. I mean, that defense is bad, and there's going to have to be some offense. And I cheated. I went, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
He's got charges across the board, basically. So running back, Stephon and I agree again. Reluctantly, for me, McFadden, he gives you 16. He's going to give you 1,600 yards. He's going to give you 10-plus touchdowns. Their offense is wide open. They have the receivers to spread the field. They open it up for him in the running game. He catches the ball out of the backfield.
Yep.
I love Matthews. I loved him last year. He's great. I don't know who's going to be the running back for Denver. Probably McGahee, but he'll split carries with Moreno, with Ball.
Somebody.
Right. They'll do committee. I love Jamal Charles. I don't like the 15 carries a game, even though one will every other week goes for 80-yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
That I think Holmes is going to, Hillis is going to eat his touchdowns.
And they're going to be eating each other's productivity.
Right. And so that's kind of why I land there.
Yeah, you're rolling with McFadden, and I can't do it. I guess you got to understand, you just called me out. I had him last year.
Right.
So
and that's fair.
Always the next year, you got to be jaded against the guy that screwed you the most last year.
Certainly.
So last year, I
think in 2 years, you had him more than once.
I had him this time. I've just been getting screwed by running backs in your league lately, because the year before, I had D'Angelo Williams.
Okay.
The year we did the whole keeper thing, and
right.
he was like the best person left. And
right.
I took him, and he played like 4 games, and I cursed at him ever since.
And there was some stat. Jonathan Stewart is like the most efficient running back in the NFL. Based on like his carries per touchdowns per yards.
Yeah.
I forgot where I read that, but it makes sense.
Got you.
When he gets his opportunities, he makes the most of them. They're both drafted in the top 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Every year, and rightfully so.
Yeah, well, they're going to get drafted higher this year, that's for sure. But I didn't go with that. I was thinking about Matthews, and I was also thinking about Hillis, because I think Hillis is going to get a few more carries than people want to believe.
And I think he'll be a goal line. Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to count touchdowns, so I went safe money and I went Matthews.
Yeah.
I assume he'll get just enough touches. You'll assume Ronnie Brown will somehow slam his own arm.
I don't know what the hell
happened
happened last year. He was just out of sorts in Philadelphia.
I guess, he might slam his own arm in a car door or something and be out for the season. I don't know. I don't trust him.
When Matthews is available, they use him.
Yeah.
Passing game, running game, all around.
Because he finished top 10 fantasy-wise last year with like half the carry.
Yeah. Yeah. Touchdowns. He had touchdowns too.
And there was games where he just didn't get used, and there was also games where San Diego stunk up the place. So I'm going with him. I trust him to be on the field more than I trust McFadden.
Right, and that's fair. And then they're both miss. That's the thing. Matthews misses series. He hadn't missed games.
Yeah.
Where McFadden's missed a slew. So a receiver contract year, I'm a homer, but I got to go with Bo.
Yeah. That's safe money. That makes sense. So Stephon went with Demaryius.
He did.
Yeah.
And so are you.
No.
Based on, okay.
No. Like I said, I feel like whoever that number 1 receiver is for San Diego, and I picked Meacham. I just assume he's going to be the one that's going to eat.
I would love that.
And that's kind of like an ex-Saint. It's kind of one of those theories. It's me putting my money where my mouth is on one of these things we've talked about for years. Like, if you take a guy off the Saints and stick him on another team, he would eat the rest of that roster alive.
Right.
And it'll be abundantly clear how talented that cat really was.
Right.
And I feel like Meacham has a chance to do that. Does he actually do it? It's risky.
Right.
It's not safe money at all.
And we would have kept him, but San Diego paid him.
I know.
So
I feel like he's the one I'm watching him pretty hard. And
I will too.
And it could go wrong, and he could end up being a slot receiver or something. I don't know, but
that'd be Eddie Royal.
But
right,
I don't know.
He could play anyway. He's a big guy. People don't realize how big a player he is, but he's fast.
Yeah.
You saw, that Detroit move where he changed directions 3 times and the corner fell. Detroit's secondary is a joke, but it was still hilarious. And still a very talented move.
Did they extend Swartz? Side note, I think they did. We'll talk about that.
Oh, probably, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Even after the 6 arrests, but yeah.
I got it, shit. Go ahead.
But yeah, tight end. There's excluding the Raiders, there's somebody everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. If he's healthy, even if he's 80%, he's better than probably any of them. And I'm going with Gates reluctantly, but this first time he's healthy. And outside of the Raiders, every team has a quality player. Like
those truffle Cheetos, man.
Yeah, I think even with that, as long as his foot's not screwing him.
I think they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of talent at receiver this year. I I assume they'll have a little bit more health at receiver this year.
But it's the comfort level he's got with Gates, I think.
And I think there's a comfort level to consider there. And if he's actually healthy, and you got to figure he was kind of steamed to be forgotten. Because you're talking about this is him and Tony are the guys.
Right.
Before this recent crowd.
And Graham. Those two.
Yeah. I mean, those were
He's not going to get, 1,400 yards, but yeah.
Yeah, and the year he was really year he was mostly toe hurt, he had 10 touchdowns and 50 catches in like 7 games.
Right. No, exactly.
And we're still talking about Gates now. And
right,
like,
of course.
Man,
if he's healthy, that's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to step away from kicking the football this year. So
fake Tony.
I'm not even rolling with fake Tony. I'm rolling with
Tammy.
I'm rolling with Tammy.
Dreesen's gonna eat some catches.
I think so, but whoever
play a little fullback.
But whoever starts, it'll probably be Tammy.
It'll be Tammy.
I think it's because I just see those 3rd and 3s and those 2nd and 5s, and
that's Peyton uses
the thing about Peyton, he keeps the offense on schedule usually.
Yeah.
And I think he's taken an upgrade over the last few years, running back wise. And so I think there's gonna be some 2nd and 8s, some 2nd and some. There's gonna be less of those. There's gonna be 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4.
And I think
Peyton's going to show up and be like, all right.
Well, and Stokely will play into that as well. But
yeah.
My opinion, that's what I would do. But
yeah, Gates to save money, and fantasy-wise, I find a way to take him on at least one of my 2 or 3 teams every year. And I just hope that he
falls every year.
Yeah, and I'm looking at him, and he's like, I eat some Cheetos, y'all, but I'm still Gates. I'm like, I'll take you. Yeah. And I just got to take a better backup.
Well, and as long as he's healthy, you plug him in and you don't even worry about it. He might not give it to you, but you don't have to play carousel with all these tight ends. And I don't play anymore, but that's always what I tried to do. That wasn't a position I wanted to worry about every week because you could worry yourself into a frenzy.
With that and quarterback, but some people feel like you can. With quarterbacks, you can get some good performances if you know the players and you know the team.
Well, Rivers is now looking at these mock drafts, falling in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. Please, I'll take it. Yeah. No doubt. I mean,
without telling on myself, I think he's going to be my Tony Romo this year.
Yeah,
it's my 5th or 6th round guy. You got to find that guy.
Yeah,
and take
this
him
year
right
might
around
be
there. And I think it's going to be Rivers this time.
It might be this year
because I think Tony's going to go a little bit too early. Which means
he's falling too, but
be the year
in Texas when we're drafting, it's hard for him to fall. But that's a conversation for later down the line.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to figure out a way we could do like a mock draft, but it's just 3 of us. It might be harder, but we'll figure it out. We're running out of weeks too.
Yeah, maybe we can do one with the computer taking another 7 or something.
Right, and just post it.
Yeah.
Or something. But that'd be the only draft I get to do, which is fine with me. Moving on to the special team side of the ball, kicker. Prater and Janikowski are obvious. People are going to forget about this guy. We've talked about San Diego putting up points, throwing a football, scoring. Nate Kading coming off of week 1 or whatever injury.
I know.
Right, I'm sure. Yeah. So I'm going with Kading. I think they're going to score more than any team in the division. And I don't think it's going to amount to a plus 500 season, but Kading's my guy for kicker in that division, even with the altitude in Denver.
I'm rolling with that. That's good safe money.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at Prater thinking, hey, I don't know, because
you just paid him too.
Yeah, you want to roll with Legatron, but
right,
the Raiders are gonna get their ass kicked.
Right, and that's who Stephon did, and he had Gates at tight end as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and he'll get his 60-yarders here and there. So will Prater, but I think the Chargers will have more opportunities. For points. So yeah, not to dwell on that too much. It's a kicker, and then finally, defense. I've sung their praises, but for the moment I had to talk about them, I'm going with Kansas City. Strong secondary. Javier, they have Arenas and McCluster returning kicks and punts. If San Diego uses Eddie Roy or Roscoe Pico in the kicking game at all, they might be around. But I love Arenas and McCluster and the defense. That defensive line picks it up, gets some sacks. They should get turnovers in that secondary. Phillip not going to throw 20, but he'll throw some. Peyton has his moments. We know Palmer does. That's just the division. Yeah. So, Kansas City's
Yep.
Might get some under 10 bonuses, on shutout bonuses maybe 1 or 2. I don't know.
Yeah, if it goes the way we're lining it up to go.
The more I read about them, the more I write about them.
It's just
I don't know why I have them only winning 8 games.
And it's bad because I got them winning 7. But it's just that defense has. I just feel like something's gonna go wrong on offense. But that defense.
That's fair.
That defense is going to be good this year.
I think so.
It has to be.
It was top 11 a year ago. It's not like it's coming off of a bad year.
So I think they're going to get in people's faces. And like you said, the special teams, you just try to look and see where something's going to happen. Now, Oakland has some special teams.
They do.
But I think that defense is going to be so horrible that they're going to get eaten alive points-wise.
They'll get a lot of kickoff out.
They're going to get a lot
of punts, but
and they'll have a couple of random
and top of the
97-yard
which happens for them.
And so that's what they'll have. San Diego, I don't believe it. I don't trust them defensively. I don't trust them special teams wise. No. They're going to be the ones giving up squirrely stuff on special teams.
Poor Spikes. It's another year without. He's going to retire without. He needs to just sign with someone that's guaranteed to go to the playoffs 1 year.
That's
New England, somebody. I mean,
that's the NBA strategy. You can't do that.
Nah, Ray Allen is totally disappointed me.
We're going to talk.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
But I like the Chiefs on that too. I was thinking about the Broncos, but I just don't see. I just see them holding people at bay more than anything.
And Stephon took Denver.
Yeah, I don't.
Because they were 29th in turnover created. They don't turn it over. They don't get the ball back.
Yeah.
So that's a big part. Some leagues you get 2 points, 3 points for that.
Yeah. So I think the Chiefs have everything they need to be in people's face.
I agree. I totally agree. They're going to be something to talk. If Castle gives me 70%
then
of what he did at 11-5 in New England, that team, watch out. I mean, they won't beat us, but
to be clear,
right? Atlanta, Tampa, Carolina, sure.
Have fun with that,
right?
Please.
Yes, exactly. All of y'all can beat all them, to be honest.
Hopefully,
right? And based on wins and losses, the final 11th question, the final standings, and then who's going to win the division. We might all have the same at the top, but we'll start at the bottom. We might have all the same at the bottom. Oakland at the bottom. Actually, Stephon has Kansas City at the bottom. I think he had him winning 6. I have Oakland, but I had him. I didn't really. I don't know if I put numbers on it yet because I didn't want to be tied to that at the end when you're totaling up.
Well, that's good. I won't say my number again. That's good. All right.
So I think I had him. It's 7 or 8 wins, and then third, I have the Chargers.
Yep.
And 7 or 8 as well. And like I said, Kansas City. The more I talk about them, the more I want to elevate them. But I have them second. I think 8 as well, and then Denver atop with 10. And Stephon had Denver, Oakland second, San Diego third, Kansas City last.
Got you. Yeah, I got it being really close down to the end again. I think the division's going to be close. I think the Chiefs are going to win some games. But if I don't have to say the number, I won't then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just speculate. We don't.
But I got Broncos winning the division. But it's going to be closer, and I honestly don't think they're going to win 10 games.
I'm tied to that Tebow 1-8, And the defense won't sneak up on people anymore. I think I think you alluded to earlier. Yeah. They'll take a step back a little bit, but he'll just give him. He'll have his 2 minutes. And I'm not the biggest Peyton Manning fan. He is from New Orleans, but he's still one of the best we've ever seen. So I certainly couldn't be a football fan and a knowledgeable one and not acknowledge that.
True.
So and he's got enough weapons around him. So
it's just interesting to see how they're gonna look out of the gate and how they're gonna grow. And I'm assuming he's gonna be healthy. I honestly am because I would rather that be the case.
Oh, certainly.
I really don't want. I don't want a random fall on the ground week 3.
Right. As fans, we want him playing.
I want him playing, and I want him to be healthy, and I want him to be as healthy as he can be. I don't want cheap hits. I don't want a random fall on the ground. What the crap? Oh, is he gonna play? Drama thing. I want him out there week 1 to 17. Let's play. Let's see what you got. Let's see how you do it.
Right. No, as fans, we want him out there. That's no doubt about that. That's That's just a degree that we're entitled as fans.
I think so.
So that concludes our first division breakdown of the season, AFC West and top 11. And next week, I don't know if I've decided. I think I've decided what we're gonna roll with next week. It's probably an NFC division. It might be the North. It is the West, NFC West.
All right.
Next week. So
NFC West.
I'll get those questions together early in the week, and we'll dissect another division and another segment. It'll be quick this week. Entertainment news. It's not always about entertainment. It's just what's entertaining to us. And just one quick mention. Tom Cruise. He turned 50 this week. Monday, Tuesday. I don't know, but.
Oh my God! Who the hell cares?
And that concludes the entertainment news for this week. On to our next
We're
segment.
not gonna talk about the divorce. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
No, that should have happened years ago.
Oh,
No.
okay, that's yeah.
I'm married now, so the Katie home's being available. Bittersweet. But, so,
Wow.
but anyway, moving on. She's nice. She liked my height too. I have to stop now.
Twitter segment.
I have to stop now.
Twitter segment.
Next time we're on to Twitter. Sheik every week. Speaking of Tom Cruise, the Sheik tweets, Tom Cruise never had the sex again unless he effed the science in the ass. I guess that's old country way. But more Tom Cruise. The Tom Cruise have Grasshopper Richard. Interesting. That's dick for you, those at home that don't understand the conversion there.
Sheikisms.
Right. More Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise get effed on the 4th of July by the Scientology and Mel Gibson mother. So both. Just filling a lot in there. Okay. And more. We mentioned Roseanne Barr last week. The Sheik mentions her again. Tom Cruise effed the Roseanne Barr. Apparently that's just bad if you put that on anyone. I guess it's a negative thing. Probably is. I mean, just finding it alone is pretty... Yeah. Iron Sheik giving Katie Holmes some love. Tom Cruise's wife leave him for Iron Sheik 10-inch Iranian snake gun. He's alluding to his penis, I think. So not the Gremlin, not the Rice Krispie, but 10-inch Iranian snake gun.
Snake gun.
He's packing. He's
hey!
Yeah.
Hey, that's kind of brilliant.
Yeah. This I don't know. Maybe it's a wrestling thing. Doink the Clown, have no balls. Is that a wrestler?
That
Doink?
is a wrestler, yeah.
Okay, I thought so. Another news that came out this week. Anderson Cooper came out of the closet. We were all shocked, or hashtag sarcasm. Anderson Cooper the gay, but still Mel Gibson deserved to die. So, two birds with one. Announcing that Cooper came out, but also Gibson should die.
Hey.
That's efficient. And Sheik again, always with the beer tweets, which I'm for. I drink lots of cold beer today for the America. I'm guessing that was Wednesday. I was cleansing, so I drank no beer, but I'm catching up since Thursday.
Correct.
Very nice. And then this is an interesting one. It's the Ed. He was on Dave's of Thunder, which is a couple of Daves. Their full names: Dave Damashek and Dave Feeney. And they both. Well, Damashek wrote for Adam Carolla, and he still does stuff at NFL Network. But the Ed is a guy that they mentioned, and this is pretty. We'll talk about this in a bit. And it makes a little bit of sense. Steve Nash is the most meaningful white Laker since the logo. And for y'all at home, the logo is Jerry West. So we'll get into that in a bit. I think I'll hold that off. And then Meta World Peace, always ignorant. I'm so arrogant. I gave away my ring because I will get another one. Sure. Hashtag not even tripping. So you're always tripping, and you won't get another one. Sorry. And that concludes the Twitter segment. We're on to hitting the home stretch here.
Yeah.
On to the state of the art, which
Yeah.
we couldn't do last week, but we were able to do this week because
I'm here. I'm
Black Ironman's in the house.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
And so you mentioned this to me Sunday or Monday, or maybe Thursday. I don't remember. But last week I had planned. We won't get into it, but I'll mention what I was going to do. You know, Larry Bird stepping down.
Yeah.
And, you know, revered as a great basketball player, one of the top.
Yeah.
And would he have been in the African American community? Is he revered as the best white player ever?
I think so.
Probably. It would have been,
I think so. I think that's.
Other than myself.
Besides you, but you know, there's not enough film on you.
Right? No. That's how I like to keep it.
Yeah.
In case I pop up, I don't want any film on me.
There you go. So you know, Bird was accepted.
Yeah.
Because he was making the shot when it counted.
And they had the illegitimate kids and stuff that fit in with
Did
it. Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, you know the hood loves him. They sympathize with him. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know. Well, it's the NBA. I mean,
right? No, they all.
They all have
all
like
of
8,
them. Yeah,
7 kids.
it's not very race dissected at all. Yeah,
Cromartie just picked the wrong sport. That's all.
Right. But this week you mentioned you wanted to talk about this, and I'm for it. And Sharita wanted to talk about it. I'll give a little background on it for you crackers that don't know.
This is him, not me.
That about it. A little history. Soul Train is an American musical variety show, or was, that aired in syndication from 1971 to 2006, y'all.
Yeah.
It's 35 years of goodness. In that history, it primarily featured performances by R&B, soul, and hip-hop artists, which means brown artists.
Yeah.
Although funk, jazz, disco, and gospel also appeared. The series was created by Don Cornelius, who hosted it and produced it for the better part of 23 years.
Yep.
Is the longest running first run national syndicated program in television history, with over 1,100 episodes. And a little more fun facts: as long as Entertainment Tonight goes to shit, and before 2016, it will hold that record. And if not, Wheel of Fortune can also break it in 2018.
Oh, yeah, that's screwed then, because Pat and them are going to be on there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we need this back on television. What is your community's plan to make that happen?
Me and Sharita talked about this, and it fell off somewhere. I don't know. I'll start trying to buy a house.
Yeah, I'm still posting some stuff about it, but yeah.
On occasion. But yeah, right. I think it's hard to get people to understand, especially now the way the world works.
Right.
Like, if you go back maybe 15 years, there was on MTV, there was TRL, and it was like, if you were a big deal and you were a pop singer and you wanted to have your hit record, this is where you debuted your videos. You showed up and you acted like you loved Carson Daly and you did all of that. That was like 15 years ago. Well, yes, you could act it out. Well, Soul Train was that for black people.
But legit, like real. It was real law.
Yeah, it was like that, but for black people 40 years ago. And it's not like now where the media exposure of everything is, you have to avoid certain things. Like if you don't want to, and if you want to find it, it's easy to find. You start clicking around online, people got blogs, people got Twitters, people got Facebook. If you want to find some music, all you got to do is know the artist's name, and you can get there.
Right.
Well, back then it wasn't like that.
What it didn't have was rich white people trying to dance on television, which was the funniest part of Soul Train for me.
Yes, which was also good.
Yeah, sorry.
So, I mean, you had that. So, seeing these people, like if you had the 45 or you had the record, that was a big deal. Like, okay, I got this record and I'm having a good time and, oh, what the hell? I'm watching Soul Train and here he is. And people putting up these ridiculous live performances because some people didn't have the money to go to a concert, because even that was a big deal.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm not paying, I guess back then probably would have been like $50. I'm not paying $50 to go see Al Green. Forget that.
Right.
But you turn on Soul Train, there he is, Al Green jumping around.
Saturday morning
singing Let's Stay Together. And that show was
that wasn't like, PBS, right? It was...
No, it was WGN.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So, and then they had it on the local stations too, so it worked out.
Right, yeah.
So that
definitely local, yeah.
Yeah, so that show was such a big deal, and you have to think about the way the world used to be and how how hard it was just to get on TV if you're trying to sing a song, and let alone back then, because it kind of mattered. Like, if you were black, it was a little bit
exposure.
if you were black, it was harder for you to get on TV. So now you got a black guy running a show saying, you want to come over here and sing your song? That's cool with me.
Done. Yeah.
And heaven forbid, if you got a hit, I want you to come over there. So then it got to be the thing to do. And it's like the template, that and Bandstand, for everything you got now. But now people just say the hell with it, and they create it in their own ways with their own websites and their own YouTube videos and all of that. So because they don't want to be linked to a machine, or like, I imagine if Don Cornelius thought you were a jackass, you weren't coming on there.
Right. There's other avenues now.
So now it's like
that was it.
Yeah.
Especially for your community.
Yeah. So it was such a big deal, and it was such an isolated thing, and I was watching a special, and it just kind of hit me that that's how it used to be. And so I was like, well, let me talk about how awesome Soul Train was. And women were on there gyrating.
A lot.
For an hour.
Yeah. I mean, that Saturday morning, no better way to start.
Like, you couldn't get in trouble for that, because that was different from, like, scrambled
breakfast and booty shaking.
Booty shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the origins for how I came to be who I am.
Right.
I mean, nobody was trying to stop me from watching this.
Nope.
But there was an hour.
Encouraging it.
Yeah, there was an hour of organized booty shaking. Then you get in a line, and then you got singular booty shaking.
They had all of that. I mean, everybody. Michael played there. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it was everybody.
Yeah, it was a big deal. So I miss it.
06 last year. We gotta.
Yeah, I miss it, even though I know it's not necessary now, because of the way things are. But it would be nice.
I think they could still syndicate it.
Yeah, it would be nice if they could just fake it for me and just do it anyway.
Right.
But I think if they did it now, they would go over the top and try to have nothing but stars. Which, like, well, how much exposure do those stars actually need? They already got enough shows. They're still doing videos.
Like you said, YouTube, and there's so many available, accessible avenues that. I mean, Rebecca Black or whatever can have the Friday song put on YouTube because her father's got a little bit of money, and then and she's not black at all. There's nothing black about her.
Yeah, and you and I, man, if we should have done this, man. Like, I tell my homeboys from college all the time, it's like, man, we would have been famous. Because we would have had free time, and we would have been able to put this stuff up, and we would have done it, and it would have been ridiculous. Funny.
Right. Well, yeah,
but it would have.
It's ridiculous.
But it would have been. It would have been a blast.
Yeah. I mean, it's easier now.
But now I work and stuff. So
right, and stuff.
Jeez. So
no longer working on the rap thing.
No longer working on the rap thing.
Maybe get Tim to do it. He won't like the page.
Oh, the singing thing.
Tim won't like the page.
Tim's been out in the forest.
But he's been on Facebook a lot, like
really?
posting, I'm eating Cheerios. Like, just random dumb posts. Like, come on, Tim, like the goddamn page.
Shit.
Yeah. F you, Harold. I'm not even talking about you. Like the page. I'm gonna put it on his page this week saying we mentioned you. Don't listen while we mentioned you, but like the page today.
That's nice.
I mean, come on, Cecil either. I don't know what he's doing. He's under a rock or something. I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, I don't know where he is either.
And then Sandy's moving out to California, so I don't know what's going on there. I know it's on, but that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Somebody, if I think controversial to get viewers, I'm doing it. All right.
I'm not touching that.
You shouldn't. All right. So we'll get it back. We'll do our best. I got Don on. You got Don on speed dial. We'll see what we can do if he's not already passed.
Yeah, Don passed.
Did he?
This year.
All right. Yeah.
Oops.
So
he got a lot of kids. Though.
Built-in tribute. Yeah, we'll call Don Jr. in the third and so on. We got it. Yeah, Sharita's now got it. Congratulations to her starting. I think she's down to 3 days. Left at Starbucks. Finally, told them to fly a kite. She's going over to work at it's either the Hyatt or something downtown. So congratulations to her. It's about time she shook that. She was better than that. They were running her dry, and first a shout out to her.
Yeah.
Love her. She deserves better. She's getting better. It's all good.
She already shot down the room hookup, though. She said, don't. I was hoping she was just doing that as a front.
Oh, right.
And I hope that I can just ask after the fact, like, come
Right.
on, you know.
But seriously, no,
Like me and my baby trying to do something.
Right,
You can get the room.
Slow down. Go to the
Spindle top?
Yeah, a little nice town downtown.
We'll work on
We'll
it.
see. Yeah, once she'll move up to the top, and she'll be running that place before we know it.
Yeah.
But now on to the next segment. The Whim hits. It's a new thing. It's quick hits. Calling it Whim hits. Hence the name of the show. I think I'll get into All-Star game if time permits, and I'll touch on that a bit. But let's get into the NBA free agency a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And obvious stuff.
This?
I have a list of 40.
Nice.
And just a quick rundown of the ones that matter. We'll analyze. But first, just to knock out some stuff prior to this, because we could get into this for a bit. Congratulations to Roger Federer and Serena Williams, both Wimbledon champs. I woke up this morning to watch Roger Federer. That's how much I'm a fan of his. I do love Andy Murray as well. I think he'll get it done at some point in London. He's a Scottish fella, so he was the golden boy. Roger was just too much today, and good for him. He gets his 7th at Wimbledon, tying Sampras, I believe, but it's now his 17th or 18th major, which is more than anyone, and just one of the classiest guys in sports. And Serena, well, y'all know about her. And Murray actually won the doubles, so he did get a championship in some capacity at Wimbledon. And on the All-Star game, real quick, the rosters was set. This is Major League Baseball. It's Tuesday night. Monday is the Home Run Derby. I need to pull up the guys who are competing in that. I wanted us to pick winners, but baseball is Stefan's thing. So I'll let him post on the page who he thinks should win. There were some snubs. There was some La Russa controversy with the Cueto situation with past brawls, and I'm not sure if he was eventually added. I know the young kid from the Reds was finally added because the Stanton, the outfielder for the Marlins, which is my favorite baseball team, got hurt yesterday or today. So
it worked itself
Bryce
out.
Parker's in. Chipper Jones was added because Matt Kemp got hurt. So the rosters are pretty much set. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of baseball, I love that Tuesday night in July. I usually do some kind of like baseball stadium-oriented food. Maybe just do some hot dogs and chili. Maybe make some tacos. Just something fun. So I do enjoy the game a lot. One of the biggest snubs for me, real quick, was Aaron Hill because he played at LSU. He's now with the Diamondbacks. I believe he was drafted by Toronto pretty high. He's having a great year. Didn't make the team. I don't think he's been added since injuries and whatnot. But other than Cueto, he was the biggest snub for me. And surprises, people say Jeter was a surprise, but I mean, he's going to win a popularity contest every time. So I wanted to get into that a little bit more, but with Stefan not here to bounce ideas off of and stuff, it was kind of hard. So we'll go with what's in our wheelhouse, which is the NBA, and that'll conclude most of the show. This talk about the NBA and free agency, and to give a quick background, deals can't actually be signed until the 11th, which we said was Wednesday.
Yep.
And then if you're restricted, the team you were previously with has 3 days to match that deal. And a lot of stuff's happened this past week. Some surprising, I guess. I mean, what the Nets have done, which starts off. I have a list of the top 40 free agents. This is not a list I put together, but a list that, for the most part, I agree with. Darren Williams was first, and he re-sign with the Nets. The only other team that really did anything to, I guess, lure him away or try to was Dallas, who, like the Rockets, have swung and missed on just about everything they've swung at, I guess, the best way to put it.
It's hard to even say Dallas has been swinging, looking at some of the stuff they let go, but go ahead.
Right, and so he signed a 5-year deal with the Nets, and they've also traded for, they signed Jared Wallace. That's pretty much done. That was a 4-year, $40 million deal, which, to me, that's obviously him, Joe Johnson, and then possibly Howard. But Jared Wallace is one of the few elite defenders in the NBA, to me.
Yeah.
So that, to me, is a big, big signing. And even if they don't get Howard, this is a top 5, top 6 seed in the East. Maybe higher, depending on how everything shakes out.
Yeah.
On that side.
There's a lot of stuff still brewing. So I'm not so sure, but getting Williams re-signed shocked me. I didn't know. It didn't seem like that's where things were headed. So
moving to Brooklyn was a big thing, I think. Jay-Z as an owner, that's a huge thing. That's what drives it, and I agree. I mean, when he got traded there last year, we thought that's it. You know, he's from Dallas. He's going home.
Yep. And apparently Dallas got too comfortable with that idea, and he was like, nah.
Right. And
I'm good. I think I'm going to stay.
And they have that Russian owner whose luxury tax doesn't scare him.
No.
So, and if they were able to pull off the biggest crybaby, literally 7 foot of him, it'd be nice. But I don't think they have much money. But even if they have to roll with Lopez, I don't think, have they traded him yet?
No.
So even if they roll with him at center, he's above average, in my opinion.
Yeah, provided he's healthy.
They don't have a bench. They don't have any roster. I mean, you and I might be sitting on the bench, filling seats for them.
We just got to pick up our phone.
Right, exactly. All these numbers from Jersey, Miami. I need to start answering them. Maybe that's what it's calling. But so that was the biggest, not the biggest move thus far. I think that's the most impactful move, possibly. And then number 2, Eric Gordon. He agreed to the max offer with the Suns. The Hornets can pay him much more than that. He's restricted. Here it says he's unrestricted, but he's not. That's wrong. He's restricted, so we'll match anything that anybody throws out there. So he'll be a Hornet. Kevin Garnett re-signing. We talked about that last week. Very cap-friendly deal. 2 years. It was not much money. 13. I mean, it was fair, very fair.
Yeah.
Maybe 18. It was under 10 a year. Duncan hasn't gotten signed, but that'll happen. Hibbert, he'll sign the max deal with Portland on Wednesday. The Pacers have brought in a bunch of centers, so maybe they're working these guys out, seeing what they can do. I don't even know if they can work them out, but they're exploring other options. They might let him go on that deal. They might not match it. And
I could see.
Larry Bird's gone, so
yeah. I don't think he stays with Indiana at all. I think that team. I think that they're losing it, and he's going to go to Portland.
They can match it. They certainly have the room. They re-signed, but we'll get to George Hill. But I think they match it. Guys like him there's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And even with Walsh now running the show, Bird gone, they'll match the deal. They have to. Just to stay in the top 3 or 4. Well, I guess they're 4 or 5 now in the East. I think they'll match it. And then this number 6, Steve Nash, the most overblown signing maybe in NBA history. He signed the trade to the Lakers from Phoenix. I don't think this makes him any better. Mike Brown coaches defense. This guy doesn't play in the defense. And he also stunts your offense. I don't know.
To me, it what it does.
2004, they're the favorites. 2012, they're back where they were.
Yeah, they didn't fix their problem. I think what they did is they made it look like they fixed their problem.
Right. It's just a name. It's an all-name team.
And being with the Lakers, sometimes you can get away with that. Because the difference is, I just don't think they're going to get enough calls for it to matter. And there's gonna be games where they're gonna get their ass completely kicked.
Well,
Because they're gonna be in such a deficit on defense, and he doesn't help them on that end.
Well, that's the thing is, and look at the teams they have to beat.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, San Antonio.
Yeah.
The questionably their second best player, or maybe best in San Antonio's case, is the point guard.
Yes.
He can't guard these guys.
And then a lot of people would argue, well, a lot of these people that we're naming, nobody can guard them. But I was like, yeah, it's a difference between you can't stop somebody and you can't even pretend to delay.
He doesn't even get in the way. It's a disaster.
He's gonna put a lot of pressure on the Lakers big men, and from what I've seen, those two guys aren't exactly the two guys that you want to pressure.
Right? No, not at all.
Especially defensively.
Right.
Especially also when I'm not sure Steve Nash is gonna be going out of his way to get those guys the ball either.
He probably nobody pick and roll is better.
Yeah,
but
maybe Powell wins off of it.
They'll score, but even still, Mike Brown doesn't exactly coach in a way that is conducive to offensive proficiency.
Yeah, but the Lakers are also pretty proficient at having coaches that ain't coaching the team too. So I think on offense, he's just going to be out there.
He clearly has his influence defensively because they were a better defensive unit.
Yeah, I think this will be more of the year where we'll see a little bit more figurehead type coaching.
Right.
So, yeah.
And 7 on the list is JaVale McGee. Last with the Nuggets, restricted. I'm guessing they'll probably match that with the Birdman. Whatever is thrown at him.
Yeah.
Birdman is dealing with that child pornography thing. I don't know. I haven't heard much since that came out. But Nene is in Washington. I guess that was the trade. Did they swap those? Was that in that trade, or was he even traded? No, because that was a signing. Because the Rockets are trying to sign Nene, so I guess it was just a straight up signing.
It must have been, yeah.
So, but Ryan Anderson, power forward for the Magic, he actually agreed with the Hornets today, which is a nice sign and trade. Didn't he lead the league in like 3-point?
He was up him and guy that used to play with the Rockets, Novak.
Okay.
Him and Novak were right there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's another great move, I think, for the Hornets. Then Nicholas Batum.
I've been going with Batum.
He signed a 4-year offer sheet with the Wolves. Small forward. I'm not sure if Portland has any interest in matching that. And my favorite free agent move so far is Jason Terry signing with Boston. I think that's huge.
That is huge.
I love that move for them. It's obviously Stefan's team being from there, and I absolutely love that move for them. Late scoring, it takes a little bit off of Rondo. I love it.
Yeah. Are we gonna talk about it now?
Which one? Ray Allen?
Yeah.
Brooke Lopez for real quick. But yeah, he was 11th. Ray Allen 12th. Last night apparently agreed to a deal with the Heat. It hurts me to see him do that. Just because I thought he was better than that.
And with him, you want to believe.
With everybody coming back too.
You want to believe there has to be some sort of feeling hurt.
Apparently, him and Rondo don't click.
Yeah, him and Rondo are an issue, and Rondo and Doc had issues for a while.
Well, Rondo's just.
It seems.
He's a little off.
And you think every year they're talking about running him off. So I mean that. So
something might be
up with old Rondo too, and Ray was on the block for the trading thing too. And you got to figure if they lump you in, they say big three this, big three that, and you're the only one that's on the trade block every time it's trade time. And when it comes time to get re-up, they walk you in a room and give you a 2-year take it or leave it type of deal. And he's like, well, just give me a third if that's what you're going to pay me.
Right.
And he's, well, no, we kind of don't want to give you a third. But come on, just give me a third. Come on, I know I'm old, but I come off screens and I shoot. That's what I do. And now we'll be coming off the bench, coming around screens, shooting. And oh yeah, that's going to be a guy in front of me doing the same thing. So what are y'all trying to say? Yeah. Well, Ray, we love you, but we're just going to give you that 2-year deal. And Ray was like, maybe you don't love me.
Right.
And I think he was hurt by that. And he was like, well, you know what? How could I hurt them the most and still be playing? I mean, it's like that's the only reason you would go to that team.
Right.
I mean, that's what it has to be. So it is crazy. It's bothersome. I shouted no like a cartoon villain at the screen for like an hour when I first saw that. Because they announced that Friday night. And I'm at Chili's with the lady, hanging out, having a good old time.
Margaritas, Presidentes.
Yeah, all of that. Having a good time, chilling. And then I look up and I see that and I'm like, what?
And
no, come on.
I didn't see it. I mean, I thought he would entertain all that stuff and then be back, especially after everyone else came back.
Everybody else came back, but the sanitary thing just kind of scared me.
No, that was their insurance move, and it's, let's be honest, who would you rather have right now?
Yeah.
I mean, the Celtics made out.
They did make out.
And that was probably them, and that probably killed anything that Ray didn't sign immediately. All right, we're going to go get a better player. Yeah. And done. I mean, that's it. So I think that's another name, and I'm not sure how much it benefits the Heat, and it doesn't matter. Nobody's beating the Thunder anyway. Three representatives on your Olympic team. So Harden made it.
Harden to be right at home overseas over there.
Flopping around, you're right, yeah.
Flopping it up, running into people, throwing his hands.
Yeah, I love it. It's fine.
He wanted to change his game at all this summer.
Nope, I'll take it. But so yeah, that was a slight curveball. But after the Jason Terry signing, it kind of the writing was a bit on the wall. Len signs an offer sheet with the Rockets. Nick said they'll match anything up to $1 billion. He'll be back in New York. We mentioned Gerald Wallace, Gordon Dragic signed, be back in Phoenix. All these teams who let these point guards go, no pride involved. Len was released by the Rockets in the offseason last year, and because there was no room with Dragic and after the trade from Phoenix.
Yep.
And now they're trying to pay him $8 per, and then Goran back in the Suns getting paid $8 per after they traded him. He was the throw-in on that deal.
Yeah.
And Kidd signs 3 years, $9 million with the Knicks. Love that for the Knicks. Mayo's still out there. Houston's entertaining him. He's restricted though.
That's a story that he's gonna end up with Lakers too.
Really? That makes sense. He's from there. USC product. Bass back with the Celtics. Another great move for the Celtics.
Yeah.
My second favorite move of the offseason. Quiet but efficient.
And it needed to happen.
Andre Miller back with the Nuggets.
Yeah.
They need some sense of calm, some complacency. They need a leader. And that was an obvious move for them. But obvious moves don't always happen. Love that. Yeah. Omar Asik, as we mentioned, signed the offer sheet with the Rockets. The Bulls are supposed to match it. And as a Rockets somewhat fan, I hope. I'm torn. They don't have a center right now, and Camby's going anywhere else. So, I'm not sure what I think about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect for this guy. I mean, when we get through this list, there's a couple teams I want to talk about overtly, but we can go.
And Jeff Green apparently today, him and the Celtics have a deal. Good story. After he had some heart issues, literally.
Yeah.
So that's a nice story for them. George Hill re-signing with the Pacers, so the Sheik will love that deal. 5-year deal. I think he'll probably he's a point guard, but he doesn't start for them, but Collison does, and we'll see how that ends up. He was rumored to be on a trading block, which makes no sense, but it was rumored to New Orleans, which I would certainly be for. Aaron Brooks is on this list. I thought he was in China. And he is. I didn't know the Suns still had his rights. Sessions is on here. Nick Young, formerly of the Clippers, signed an offer sheet with the Sixers. That probably won't get matched.
I doubt it.
Jamal Crawford agreed to deal with the Clippers, which is nice.
And Sessions is allegedly another person that the Mavs are looking at.
They need some. They have no point guards.
Yeah,
so
they got to do something.
Right.
So.
J.R. Smith unrestricted. I thought he had a player option that he picked up to stay with the Knicks, and I'm pretty sure that's true. This list also said that Eric Gordon was unrestricted, which is false. So I'll check on that, but I'm pretty sure J.R. Smith will be a Knick next year. Carl Landry, I'm not sure that he's restricted either with the Hornets. He very well may be. Jameson unrestricted. He'll likely be back in Cleveland.
You think so?
Yeah. They have money, and this is the only veteran they can really. He's a good player. They paid the shit out of him because they traded for him, so you probably get him on a cap friendly deal. Jameer Nelson agreed to stay with the Magic. Kaman's still out there. Camby's still out there. Beasley agreed with the Suns. The other Lopez, he's restricted with the Suns. I assume he'll be back with them. Delonte West, who cares? Grant Hill, decision time. And Billups at 40, which is lame at 40. He's like 20.
And I think he's pretty much going to re-sign.
He did already.
So okay.
He's with the Clippers.
All right, so I'm
him and Crawford.
Sure
so that's huge.
That's good. Camby is allegedly talking to the Knicks.
And the Heat.
Yeah.
But he wants to stay in Houston, but I don't see it happening at this point. If those two teams are...
Yeah, I see him. I mean, he'll end up with one of those two teams. You would imagine...
If the Heat got Camby, I'll start not... It won't be a layup for the Thunder anymore. Just because they'll have a legitimate center. They don't have that at all.
Yeah. Somebody that'll jump at stuff.
Right.
At least.
Right. And give them 15 minutes of hustle. It almost wouldn't be fair. So
they're headed in that direction right now.
Right.
I mean, they're about to try to set the stage for the not one, not two. But I don't know.
The Thunder still, they signed another... Oh, they got a Sheem to beat. But that'll be the place where he'll give you 8 minutes of,
balls out.
Yeah, exactly. Under the goal, blocking, boxing out.
Make like 3 putbacks and make me happy.
So I like it just because it's a throw-in.
Yeah. So if you get nothing, the world doesn't come to it.
Right. It's an offer sheet. They invited him to the summer league, so it's not like they're paying him or whatever. So
man, that guy right there. So Dallas is kind of throwing in the towel, right? I mean, that's kind of what they're doing. So they win a title, and then in 2 years they lost damn near the entire team that won the title.
They can only afford to do it for one season because Dirk's older than us, I think, or he's about our age.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want one swan song, a legitimate one for a deserving player, it's soon.
Yeah, but they're throwing in the towel right now. I mean, because I had issues with them letting the people walk and not ending up with some of the people they had.
Letting Chandler go.
Yeah, letting Chandler go was step one to... Y'all do know y'all won't win a title without Chandler, right?
Right.
Like, you do know he played defense.
The one legitimate defensive center.
Like, he played defense. He made up for the fact that Jason Kidd is old and crusty. And Dirk stepped up a little bit, but his step up was predicated on, for some reason, when Chandler shows up, he gets to cussing at people and he says, look, I ain't messing with you if you can't at least throw a hand up or something.
Right.
I can't play defense for 5.
No, and he can't score either, so it's alley-oops or nothing out of him. But his defense is elite. He's our lone center on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
That's how much we understand his skill set.
Yes. If he can make a putback, it would be curtains.
No, that's it. That's all they need him to do.
If he could.
Right, exactly. I know. I agree.
Because Shaq is like shaking his head like, man, I made putbacks. Jeez.
At least they're done.
Come on.
While eating donuts and Cheetos.
I was playing my way into shape the last half of my career. Shaq, golly. And
was he ever on an Olympic team? That's a Stump Stefan question.
I'm going to go with yes.
I just don't remember him ever being on one.
No, because that means playing basketball in the summer. No,
right? I don't.
That means not eating Cheetos and
I don't think he ever
rap
was.
albums.
I really don't think he was.
Because he was a known Cheeto eater, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, on television. And he was, like, probably a sponsor at some point.
He should have been.
If it wasn't, like, Sonic or Coney Island.
He may have did local chain. He may have did, like, In-N-Out Burger or something on the West Coast or something.
He was grubbing in the off-season, for sure.
Continuously.
Yes.
But, yeah, we're talking about Texas now. All three of those teams. San Antonio, I kind of look at, if they didn't do it this year.
No, it's over.
It's got to be officially over with that. And Dallas is about to. They might be bad enough to not make the playoffs this year. Because they owe Dirk more than that. And I really feel
they do. I
that.
agree, and I don't even like him. But
yeah, but if you're gonna, he did what he needed to do, and he played his ass off the year.
But they're paying like Sean Marion and Brendan Haywood like $30 million or $35 million total. Like those two contracts.
Yeah.
And Marion's been done.
Yeah.
Haywood's a serviceable center, but not at over $10 million a year.
No. Well, they screwed the pooch on signing big men like the last 2 or 3 times.
And they got rid of the wrong one.
Because before that, they had Dampier, too. And it's like, well, wow.
And he's no longer. I'm thinking.
Well, he was with the Heat.
He was, but not the championship year.
Not one? Okay.
No. Not no more. Speaking of that, we'll work on a sponsor for next week.
Yeah, we got to get on that.
LeBron called me and said, no more. Not 1, not 2, just 2 times. So.
No, well.
He didn't like the eye napkin joke, but his sense of humor is pretty limited. So
that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
He knew he was crying.
I'll call D-Wade.
Maybe D-Wade told him to not.
None of them are playing in the Olympics, so they're available.
No, well.
Poons. But
I don't know why. Well, Bosch is hiding because
he's still drunk. His urine shower.
Well, also too, during the finals, like a masseuse turned up dead at his house.
Yeah, he's got to deal with it.
So he's probably somewhere hiding.
Yeah.
Like, don't ask me, Jack. I don't know.
Like
I was there,
Jason
but I wasn't
Williams
there.
stuff.
Yeah, I was there, but I wasn't there. I was in the other wing.
When he blew away the limo driver.
Yeah, I was in the guest house. You don't have a guest house at that house. Oh, I was in the backyard.
But sadly, he's the most responsible of the big three. Like, he's a family guy. He's got the wife. He's got a newborn. Like, he's legitimately lame, but in a good way.
But I think that's on paper.
Because you've stayed in Canada forever. So.
Yeah, but I think that's on paper, though. The running story is that he's an NBA player.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So, I think he just got him a wife just to try to play it off.
Yeah, baby, wife,
Yeah. So,
it's a good start to distract us.
So maybe he's just trying to turn over a new leaf right now. But
no, it makes sense. I don't know how much trouble you can get in Canada, but I'm sure it's there. It's there to be had when you have that kind of money.
Yeah, they got that in Canada too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, strip clubs.
Do they? No.
Oh yeah. From what I hear, allegedly.
I haven't been. I haven't been to Canada.
Right. Wow.
So
it depends where you go. Vancouver's really cool. I haven't been to Toronto, and that's where he played his first however many years. So
let's go with 7.
Yes.
All right.
That works for me. Rookie deal, and then but is that all in the?
I think that's all we got.
NBA.
I mean, NBA free agency. It's a little bit early to talk about anything else. I'm just kind of surprised when a team.
Kirk Heinrich.
Yeah, that's
back in Chicago, 2-year deal. He's a very underappreciated point guard.
I agree with that. That's kind of important, but I'm kind of ignoring.
Well, because he'll start for him.
Yeah.
His Rose is done till maybe all year.
Yeah,
and better production.
And I'm kind of stop it. I'm kind of ignoring that team too because I'm assuming the Bulls are done.
Yeah, for this year certainly.
And it sucks because I think Thibodeau was a hell of a coach.
No, he's the best coach.
So, but yeah, LA will get a lot of coverage. There'll be some no-look passing and some put-back dunking and some flopping, and I'll roll my eyes. And I just hope that they don't accidentally draw the right teams in the playoffs and get anywhere. I hope they get completely mud-stomped in the first or second round like they deserve because they just don't have the level of talent that they need to have. I like Kobe overall. I admit that he has some reasonably fatal flaws. And when you catch him attitude...
All good athletes do.
Yeah, but you catch him attitude-wise on the wrong day and he's
He'll rip your heart out.
He's T.O.
Yeah.
I mean, he's NBA T.O. And he doesn't get the credit for being that because when he's on, he's unstoppable.
Right.
But
And
I've seen him tank games
well, I mean,
in important situations.
Nash makes it better offensively, but his liability on defense won't counter that enough.
Yeah.
It's not a push. It's a. And I love Steve Nash, and
we talking about him not being clutch too. I mean,
no, he doesn't have. We don't have to be. I mean, it's Kobe's. Kobe's taking the last shot no matter what anyway.
yeah.
And so that won't be an issue in that sense. But I wasn't sure where Nash would end up, but this was a slight surprise.
Yeah.
Just because I thought he would end up in New York because he has a home there.
Yeah.
And it made sense in that offense. I know D'Antoni's not there anymore, but around with the pieces there and what he could do, and then Shumpert playing defense alongside him, lockdown defender, and they could win the East possibly. They have no shot to win the West, and they don't know that, and people don't know that. Mike Greenberg doesn't understand that. He thinks they're the favorite now. No, this doesn't change anything for me. As far as if anything, it makes them lesser of.
Well, it just highlights the fact it's just gonna make it a little bit more disappointing for the people who don't know better when they get their ass kicked in the second round of the playoffs.
If they get there, say they're running the wrong team.
Yeah.
In the first round, I mean 4 or 5 or whoever they end up.
Because defensively they were a joke before this,
right?
And now it's not better. I can assure you of that.
No, and did Brandon Roy end up with Minnesota, right?
Minnesota is.
So that's a good story.
I'm pulling for that.
They've signed a lot of people.
He signed a 2-year deal. I almost don't even want to say it out loud because I don't want to jinx him. Right. So I just hope he does well, and I'll leave it at that.
I already love Kevin Love. We watched him at my bachelor party. I'm wearing the shirt. Weekend. His streak.
We ruined his streak. I'm sorry, Kevin.
We knew it would happen.
I'm sorry, Kevin Love.
Just to see him in Golden State, it was fun. And Adelman, who should probably still be the coach here. But the Timberwolves are fun and a fun story, and he only adds to that. And the rooting interest will just grow.
Yeah,
with that signing,
and of course that team isn't set to win anything, but just seeing them win
set to
some
screw,
games,
screw with some people's,
they could
aspirations.
They could ruin a couple lives in the playoffs if they draw the absolute right
they
team.
were 7th seed when Love went down.
Yeah,
so they got rid of Beasley, which is always a good thing, I think. He's a talented guy, but just it's a mental conundrum. So I don't even have a better way to define it. But so there'll be a team to follow for sure. And this probably will pretty much conclude our NBA talk until October.
Yeah.
And when it starts.
Note happens, yeah.
Right. And we'll probably touch a little bit more on free agency next week. But it's going to be big time NFL for the most part. And before my computer dies here, I just wanted to. We always try to do a tribute at the end, and I opened up with the Andy Griffith Show theme. And for most of us are too young to have watched it when it was on network nighttime, but we all watched it syndicated.
Oh yeah,
and his career spanned 50 years. He was on Broadway and movies, musician, and his biggest fame was the Andy Griffith Show, which is on Mondays on CBS. It was as high as 1, never lower than 10, and it was from 1968. Well, it ended in 1968, the majority of the 60s, and he went on from there to be in a lot of movies and Matlock.
Oh yeah.
At the end, and most recently on television disputing Obamacare. I'll forgive him for that. He is dead. So they did a ranking of top television dads, 50 greatest TV dads of all time in '04. He was number 8 on that. Of course, number 1 was Clifford Huxtable.
There you go.
Rightfully so. Of the older people on that show, I think he was the last one to pass. Don Knotts has since passed, and just left with Ron Howard. Great director and great maker of daughters. Dallas's beautiful young woman. But that's my personal touch.
Personal touch.
Always gotta go to the ladies. But he passed this past week, and that's certainly worthy of noting. And for those of you who didn't know, he was already gone. He won a Grammy as recent as 1996. He was a musician before he was an actor.
Yeah?
Which, I don't think a lot of people knew. So
that I didn't know.
And a lot on the shows, he's always with the banjo band, playing the guitar. And so, very talented guy, very private man. A lot of what he portrayed on television was the person he portrayed in real life. He wouldn't want you to know that because he thought his acting chops were great. And they were. But he was just being himself. And that's more of a compliment than I think anyone could ever give me based on what his character was on television.
Yeah, everybody watched that show.
Yeah.
Man. I saw a lot of it myself when I was coming up, man. You bring it up to my pop. My pops brought that up to me. Like, I was at the house. He was like, hey, you saw Andy went in. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always made time, on the shows and in life, I'm sure. On the show, it was always about time with the children, and there's always a lesson learned in those shows, and very understanding, very unique individual, and he passed away, and he was 86. I'd love to be on this earth 86 years, and I hope that. But
hey, man, you're doing cleanses
with
and
future,
stuff, man.
with the medical science, maybe
you give yourself a chance, man.
Right. Yeah, losing those 20 pounds once a year and then putting it back on. It's not the best way to do it. But,
Well,
But hey, not drinking for 10 days is always healthy. So that I just wanted to touch on him. That's one of the most real tributes that we've been able to do thus far. We can all relate to that character and his career. If you haven't seen Andy Griffith, you've certainly seen Matlock or
something.
Right. So that about concludes the 9th. Next time will be the 10th. We made it to 10.
Yeah.
Just because nobody can kick us off the air because there's no air to kick it off. We can control our own. So, but next week it's the NFC West, and we'll finalize our NBA free agency talk. Everything should be pretty clear by then. All-Star game, maybe I'll touch on that a bit. Hopefully it's memorable. Bryce Harper's now in it, along with Chipper Jones. And Stanton's hurt for the Marlins, so that we'll see how they go in the second half. But home run derby picks, I wanted to do that. I can't remember who's actually in it. Let me quickly, before the computer totally crashes. I'll pick an AL guy. And let's see. I don't know. The only person I can think of right now is Matt Kemp, but I'm trying to think of who. Because I was going to go with the Marlin player, but I got nothing. Clearly, I can't find any home run derby stuff, but so that's it. I could look forever. I'll go with Matt Kemp. He doesn't play on Tuesday, so we'll go with him. And Art agrees.
Yes,
so
of course I do.
We'll close you out with a little bit of Matlock.
Yeah.
Night, y'all. Number 10 next week.